Today's episode is brought to you by Coal Creek Equine, makers of the best equine spa in the industry. If you want your horses to be world champions, you better put them in a Coal Creek. Okay, we've got Miles Baker on the Uncut and Real Raw podcast. Great to have you here, Miles.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me.
Well, good deal. Well, listen, Miles, I've known you for 3 or 4 years from a distance. And it's only really just been the last few months that I've really kind of met you a little bit, had a couple of conversations with you. Where were we when I said to you, we were at the Cutting Fraternity? That's right. I ran out to you at the Cutting Fraternity last year. Snafflebit Fraternity, was it? Yeah, that's right. Yep. And I got to chatting with you, having a couple of cocktails and so forth, and got to know you a little bit better. And that's when I said, hey, I want to start a cult for you. Yep. And that's kind of what led us to the podcast and so forth. But Miles, for people that don't know you, you're a horse trainer / team roper, fraternity horse trainer, etc.
Yeah. I grew up in Oklahoma on a ranch, and Dad had a feed yard and cow-calf operation, and I just grew up doing cowboy stuff.
So what part of Oklahoma was that, man?
Southwest corner. The closest big town to us is Lawton. Most of our land's kind of right on the west side of the wildlife refuge up there. It's real pretty country, and I just grew up on horses and young horses, and I think that.
So who was it when you were a kid? Well, first of all, how old are you now?
32.
32 now. So when you were a kid growing up, was your dad the biggest horsemanship influence you had? Who taught you how to ride as a kid? Who taught you some skills?
I really kind of self-taught, and not to say that some people say that in a boastful way, and I don't, but like my dad was a wheat harvester when I was young, and had some cattle, and he loved horses, but he wasn't involved in them. And so when I was probably 10, 11, 12, my dad started buying some colts, and he'd go to the Cutting Fraternity and buy a 2-year-old that somebody had broke. And so then when I started riding and everything, I was always on young horses. And
so let me ask you, did he buy the colt specifically for you to ride? Did you say, hey, Dad, I want my own friggin' horse? If he was a wheat farmer, who bugged him to get the horses? You, sisters, brothers?
No, his grandpa was a horse trainer, and he always liked it, but it wasn't what he did. And then as they quit harvesting wheat, and he got bigger into the cattle deal, and we just started using horses to doctor the cattle.
Okay, so you basically need the horses part of the ranch.
Yeah,
okay.
And my dad liked the horses, and so it was kind of more or less like my dad and I started on the horse deal at the same time, and now he's kind of one of our best customers in the horse deal.
That's interesting.
You can go to the little hole in nowhere in Oklahoma, and his barn will always have the best horses in it. That's guaranteed.
Awesome. You know what's funny about him being a wheat farmer? Typically, most farmers that row crop and have crops, they fucking hate horses.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like dairy farmers hate horses. Most farmers typically they're just hay burners, and they're a waste of money. And unless it's a cow making money, horses are shit. So the fact that your dad was into farming and loved horses, that's pretty rare. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you started riding, you're just riding young horses. Is he teaching you? You learning from books? How the fuck are you surviving, mate?
We just used them, and I always say that I made a lot of good horses before I even knew what I was doing, because we had a job for them, and they got the piss used out of them.
Yes.
In the feed yard and outside, and I think that. And I liked the roping and stuff all along too, but that wasn't ever my passion. I just liked the young horses. I liked the training, the horsemanship, and I think riding those young horses, I got to learn a lot of stuff in the process before it really mattered. I probably screwed up a lot of horses.
Yeah. Listen, any trainer worth their salt, if they won't publicly admit they didn't at least fuck up half a dozen horses, they're a lying son of a bitch. Because if you haven't wrecked at least half a dozen horses, you ain't trying hard enough.
You're not trying.
Wouldn't you agree with that or not?
100%.
If you haven't screwed up at least half a dozen, you ain't trying hard enough. Yeah. I want to make a comment that I think is pretty cool about what you said about those young horses. The more jobs you give them, because I actually kind of missed that part of it. I didn't grow up on a cattle ranch at all. I grew up in the city, but from about 14 onwards, I grew up in the country, and you did a lot of colt starting, but we would gather up a lot of cattle on these horses, use them a lot. Roping's not part of our culture in Australia, but we sure as shit used them a lot. Check cattle, fence lines, etc. And there's nothing that will mature a young horse more than fucking riding that thing 6-7 hours a day outside,
100%. And that's still the easiest horses to train. They're generally past their maturity age for us to show. But if some old cowboys just use the hell out of them, cowboying, and then they want to make a head horse out of them, it's like overnight they get good.
Yeah, yeah. Gives them a job to do. Gordon McKinley, one of my mentors, he used to have a famous saying, Miles. He always used to say, you leave on a young one and you come back on old ones.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I said, what do you mean by that? And he said, back in, he's been dead now 15 years, but back in his day, he left high school when not even high school, he left school when he was 12. Okay, yeah. That's, back in that generation, they left at that age. And he said, Clinton, we would go and start colts. In Australia, they just call it breaking in. Yeah. But we would break in horses. We would go on like a 2-week muster. So there'd be like 10, 15 guys that would go out and gather 2,000 or 3,000 head of cattle, okay? And he said, we would start colts that morning and go ride them for 2 weeks. And I said, what do you mean by start them that morning? I literally mean get a halter on them for the first time, saddle them up, and get on them. And he said, there's like 10 of us, 15 of us in a yard. All these horses are bucking, running around like idiots. And I said, how would you control them? And he said, we really didn't. We didn't really have any control of them. And he said that the head stockman would open the gate and all fucking 10, 15 colts would run out. And they'd be bucking, bolting all over the place. And he said, we would be gone for 2 weeks straight. We'd ride them all day, 12, 14 hours a day. Then we'd hobble them at nighttime. Yeah. One guy would stay up and keep an eye on the horses. We'd hobble them all. They'd graze during the night. We'd catch them up in the morning. We'd get on them and they'd buck again. And we'd ride them all day again. And he said, we'd come back after 14 days of living on those horses. And he said, they were so damn broke. It was incredible. And he said, it wasn't the training techniques that were good. They were horrible, what we were doing. Yeah. But he said, just the sheer riding them 10, 12 hours a day for 2 weeks. He said, we always used to have a saying, we'd leave on young horses and come back on old ones.
They probably spent more time in 2 weeks on them than trainers these days spend on them in 4 months.
Absolutely. And because I said to him, I said, well, because they, and these, when I say colts, you got to remember, they
were probably 4-year-old.
Yeah, they were 5-year-old. He said, we never started anything under 5. And I asked him why. And he said, Clinton, the country was too rough. One paddock in Australia and a lot of these cattle ranches might be 20,000 acres. That's just one field.
Yeah.
That's not the whole ranch. That's one field. And he said if we rode 2-year-olds, they'd never stay sound. We would have broke them down. Yep. He said they had to be at least 5 years old, and they were big, stout geldings. Yep. And he said we basically flipped them over when they were a 2-year-old. We castrated them, no anesthetic, no nothing, flipped them over, collar roped them, flipped them over, castrated them, turned them out. So by the time they come in at 5-year-old, they're big and snout and snorty. And I said, well, could you get on and off them? He said, no. And I said, well, what'd you do if you need to take a piss? He said, we just piss out the side of our saddle, hold it, whatever. He said, for the first day, we couldn't get off these fucking things. Like they were so rank that if you stepped off them in the middle of a 20,000 acre field, you may not get on. And I said, well, what happened if one guy got bucked off? He said, all jokes aside, you might have to walk the whole day. Because he said, you may not be able to catch that horse. So it was pretty rank. Yeah. But he said when we came back after 2 weeks of riding them, they were absolutely broke to death. Wow. I never forgot that. Leave on young horses, come back on old ones.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And I miss that about Australia today, about putting those long miles under their feet.
Yeah. No, I miss that opportunity now that I'm in Texas because it was just a byproduct. Making a good horse was a byproduct of what I had to do for a job, and now I don't hardly ever leave the arena.
Yes.
Which I tell people too, they're like, man, how do you make good horses now? I'm like, they don't have to have that. It's just it's a benefit. It's good. Yeah. But you can make a good horse without it.
Yes. I think there's something that just matures a 2-year-old so much quicker when you're riding them outside. I think when you really logically think about it, Miles, you're just handling them a lot more. You're turning them, you're stopping them. There's no fence.
Yeah.
So you just can't turn them loose. So you're helping them so much more. So think about how many times you pick up in the left rein, right rein, left foot, right foot. You're just handling them like 5 times the amount you normally would when you're in a 150 by 300 foot arena. You're just handling them a lot more. And I think they're way more willing to go forward. Would you agree?
Yeah. I would have liked to swung a leg over the colt that you had of mine before y'all went to Arizona and spent all that time. Because I bet there's a noticeable difference from him getting pulled around in there to going out there for 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, very much so. We're going to bring your colt up a little later on in the podcast, but I want you to remember that part because that's why I called you and said, do you mind if I take that colt of yours to Arizona?
Yeah, I didn't care what the hauling cost. I knew how.
Yeah, no, that's an important part of it. I want to pick that up later, but let's get back to you a little bit here, mate. So you got a passion for the horses. First of all, any brothers and sisters do what you do?
No, I got a sister, and my dad has an animal health company. He just sells medicine to feed yards and stuff. And my sister runs the office for him and stuff. So
okay, so you were the only one that really had the horse bug?
Yep.
So 10, 11, 12, you're going to school and riding horses after work, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, riding horses and started junior rodeoing and stuff. And I rodeoed in college and after college and stuff, just around the house.
What do you mean by rodeoing? What events did you do?
Team roped.
Team roped, okay.
And it was good. I didn't do it ever. I didn't ever care to have a passion to go do it and to make a living, but I would go to enough rodeos that I make the circuit finals, or that was kind of the notches in my belt at the time, and I had fun and it was competitive. But
so who was teaching you roping basics? Your dad? Who taught you how to rope the dummy?
My dad and some guys from back home. They just team rope. They would just chase cattle, and we had so many cattle turned out on wheat pasture. I roped more outside than I ever roped in the arena. Probably up to the point of like going to college, we were always doctoring cattle. But when I got to college, I got around some guys that roped really good, and my competitive nature, I knew they were better than me. I knew they were light years ahead of me. And I
in
thought
their horsemanship or their roping, mate?
They're roping.
They're roping. Not so much their handle on a horse, but roping skills.
Yeah, these guys were just ropers. But I thought, I come from a small town, and you big fish in a small pond. I thought I roped good. And I got around guys that roped good, and I was like, wow, I rope terrible.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not good.
Yeah.
And so then I went to working at it. And like I talked about a little bit today, there was a point in time where I got to where I wasn't that interested in roping, like mid to early 20s. And
well, let's just back up a little bit. You went to high school, finished high school. Did you go to college?
Yeah.
What happened
then? I went to Oklahoma State. I graduated a year later than I should have graduated. I went ahead and made it a 5-year degree. But
you're having too much fun.
I met my wife up there, and that was good. And
so did anybody push you to go to college? Was it your family, your dad? You thought it was expected? Why didn't you just go out and start training horses when you left high school?
I didn't have a passion to really train horses until I got around some guys when I was in college that trained and showed AQHA. And I remember I'm a junior in college the first time I ever even hear about what a light cycle is on a horse. It's cold in January, and I walk in this guy's barn, and these horses are slick and tight-haired, and I'm like, he's like, man, what do you do to keep these horses so well? They're on a light cycle. I'm like, what's a light cycle? And so I'm 21 before I know anything about the show horse world, and I don't know, I just liked it, and I don't know. I think I always liked taking care of them, having pretty horses, but I didn't understand the depth of it.
See, I keep asking you about education because, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but most people that I interview are way older than you. They're 65 and above as a general rule, okay? So the reason I keep coming back to education is because when I ask those older guys, who'd you learn from, it was mainly their parents, their dad, their uncle, because back in those days, information wasn't shared readily. Yep. You're young enough now. Like, hell, I'm 49 for Christ's sake. You're a lot younger than me. Yep. Education, clinicians, schools, videotapes, DVDs, that was all very around from the time you were 10 to 25. So I was just wondering, did you not know about it? You had no interest?
I think I always had interest, but I didn't know that people made good livings training horses or winning,
Yep.
But I can remember I don't know how long ago it was. I was probably in high school, but I can remember my mom telling me I needed to go to sleep, and I would stay up at night and watch you train that Epic Titan horse on your show. I could probably memorize that whole process because I liked it. I was like, man, that's cool. They can run and stop and turn. And so I know I was probably out there at the feed yard just spurring mine in the shoulder, trying to get him to spin around,
one poor horse is taking an ass whipping because of me.
I'm telling you, I probably ruined a lot more than a half a dozen of them. But I learned to feel for a horse. And my dad bought some 2-year-olds from a guy that he's just a cowboy but a good hand. And I would get on them 2-year-olds and he would have them ginning around. And so I think I learned feel pretty early. And then my dad liked the horses enough. Ty Smith, our mutual friend, he went to college down where I'm originally from. So when he was in college, him and my dad got to buying some horses, and we had doctor wheat pasture cattle on them and rope on them, and then they'd buy them when they were 2 or 3, ride them for a year and flip them, sell them, whatever. And so it was like good horses started to circulate through our place, and I think somewhere along the way I just learned to feel, because I never went and rode with anybody early in my career. Now later, when I started seeing the value of the knowledge, I started going and turning back for like Shannon Hall, cutting horse trainer. He's a great horseman. And so I think stuff has slowly been like planted in me along the way, and it's crazy that it just come to fruition, you know, in the last 5 years, because I always just figured I was just going to be a cowboy and run cattle and stuff I didn't ever plan on.
When did you figure out in college that people could actually make a living training horses, and this could be not just a hobby that you did on the weekend, but you could make a legitimate business out of it?
Well, I was around a guy, and I won't say any names, but he just told me I couldn't do it. It was like, I was like, man, this is kind of cool. Like, I'd go over there and just rope and turn steers for him, and because I was heading at the time, roping a bunch, and he was like, man, you just don't know enough or don't want to spend enough time with the horses. So he's like, because what are you going to do after college? And I was like, well, I'm going to train horses. And it was just the first thing that come out of my mouth. And he was like, you won't make it. You know, you don't know enough. And that'll just piss you off. If you got any try at all, that'll piss you off.
Yes.
And I can think of on 3 different occasions, people told me, this guy tells me I can't train horses. I remember one guy telling me I would never be able to heel because I'm left-handed. And then I had one guy just tell me I wasn't good enough. And I remember those 3 conversations like it was yesterday, and I've carried them on my shoulder ever since.
You're damn right. You know, a little bit of saltiness is a great motivation for fucking shoving it up your ass. I could say the same way. People have been hating on me my whole fucking career, and I love it. I got to thank them. I don't think I could have accomplished half of what I did in my career without the haters, me trying to prove people wrong.
Well, if your skin's thin, it'll beat you down, and you don't want the criticism, and all of a sudden you're like, man, y'all are probably right. I'm not that good. I'll go get an office job, and no one will ever hear your name again if that's how it is. If it pisses you off, and like the 2 of the guys that one guy told me I couldn't heel is a good friend. I'd call him and check on him till today. And then the other guy that just straight up told me I wasn't good enough at the time is probably the person that I look up to the most in life. And if I had to say, if you called him today and said, you know, who's your best friend or whatever, he would say me. And it's somebody that I'm the closest person I'm to. Yeah. Just straight up said I'm basically, and I knew he was telling me because he loved me, but he was like, hey, you're just not good enough, you know.
Breaking Bad is a 2020 stallion by Stevie Ray Vaughan. Out of the all-time leading broodmare Sweet Abra, he is dual-registered AQHA and APHA and is 6-panel NN. At just 5 years old, he has already earned over $200,000 and is still showing. He is nominated to the major NCHA and NRCHA stallion programs and is part of the new Legacy Bonus, which has an estimated payout of $1 million to be paid at the 2025 NCHA Futurity. For more information or to request your breeding contract, contact Beau Gallion Stallion Services or Foltz Ranch at 806-672-6039.
Hi, my name is Melanie Smith with Solo Select Horses. We have been a part of the ICSI process for several years with GeneTech with exceptional results, and we continue to work with them every day to improve the technology and improve the results for our customers. GeneTech has really transformed the industry and allowed us to transform our business. I feel like they want to take the research that they get within the lab, the information we give to them, and really once again maximize the results that we can get for all of our customers, because if our customers win, we win and GeneTech wins. For more information on advanced equine reproductive services, please visit genetechvet.com.
This episode is brought to you in part by Silver Spurs Equine, home of the $1 million challenge. So when you got out of college, you said, hey, I'm going to make a living doing something. And you said, I want to start colts. What part of the equine industry did you want to get involved in?
It just made sense because I was taking care of all these cattle. I'd get up in the morning, check cattle, doctor cattle. I'd have to ride a horse to do that. And then it just made sense. I didn't know what else I was going to do for money. And so where I'm from, I was like super horse trainer because no one else did it. And I could G-haul one around and get him operating and rope on him. And so there was guys sending me horses. And I remember this is in 2000, right out of college. I mean, I'm talking like 2018. It wasn't like it was 20 years ago. I was charging $450, $500 a month. I wasn't making nothing. And even up to 2 years after that, I was charging $750 a month. I remember deciding that I was going to go to $1,000 a month and thinking, basically lost all my clients. They're like, no, it's too much. And it's just crazy how fast stuff changes. But I was so dedicated to getting good at that point that I would have lost money on every horse on my place for the experience. And fortunately, I had the cattle to lean on. Like, that was what my dad and I did for a living. We took care of cattle.
So you didn't have to make a living training. It could supplement your living, but it wasn't your primary way of making a living.
And now looking back, cattle really don't make any money, so I don't know why I was thinking that was going to work. But no, I was literally, when Trevor started sending me horses, Trevor Brazile, I sold him a few horses when I was in college and got hooked up with him, and he started sending me some horses. And I remember I would ride his horses, and if I didn't feel like they were way better than they were the month before, I wouldn't charge him because I wanted him to be impressed with what I was doing. And it wasn't about money as much as I knew I had an opportunity that I wasn't ready for. I was like, I'm not ready to ride horses for this guy. I don't know what false sense of hope he has in me, but I'm not good enough yet, and I know that. And I was just like, hey, this horse ain't good enough. I'm not going to charge you. Just leave him here. I'll keep riding him. And I'm telling you, when I say I'm surprised I didn't cripple every horse he sent me because I tried my ass off to make them good. And the way it turned out was, come to find out, him and one of his partners at the time bought 15 colts and sent them to all different people. And the ones that I sent him back, I'd spent so much time on them that there wasn't even, and they sent them to good trainers, but it was good trainers that probably had 75 horses in their barn, and I camped on these suckers.
Yes, that's the secret, right?
And all of a sudden, when they go back, I didn't know that I was basically taking a test, but he'll tell it to this day if he's on a podcast. He's like, there wasn't even a close second to how good his horses were versus everybody else's.
See, what's cool about that little story that I think young people could take advice from, that was called sweat equity. You know what I mean? I always had a theory, you know, when I first started training horses in Australia, I just did problem horses, starting colts, etc. And I remember walking up to this, you know, the ranchers in Australia, we call them graziers. I don't know why. They just call them graziers, but it's basically a rancher here. And this grazier guy would breed about 20 colts a year. And I just went out my own. So I got no customers. I'm fucking poor. I'm broke. And I went and found him at a horse sale. And I said, here's the deal. If you'll let me start one colt for free for you, okay, all I ask you to do is just buy the feed. Just pay me for the feed. I was that broke, I couldn't even feed this sumbitch, okay? So I said, if you'll just give me a couple $100 to buy the feed, I'll ride it for 6 weeks, and you come get it. And if you like it, you don't have to pay me. If you don't like it, you still don't have to pay me. But all I ask is if I've done a good job for you, you'll give me a chance at those other 19 colts that I heard you raise every year. And he said, you'll do that. You'll ride it for free. I said, absolutely. And he said to me, why? Because I said, I think I'm good enough that if I work hard enough and try hard enough and do a good enough job for you, I believe you'll think I'm worth paying. That was how I got my first customer. I rode that colt for 6 weeks. He showed up. To be perfectly honest, we did about the exact same fucking things I did with you and Jeff with your colt this morning. That was going back 25 years ago. That would have been 1993, 1994. And he got done and he said, you've got all 19. And that's how I got my first big account. But it's called sweat equity. I couldn't lose money on the feed, but I could lose my sweat because I always got that back the next day. That's what you were doing on Trevor's colts. You were willing to give up sweat. Hey, listen, I got to keep it an extra month. Giving up sweat is the easiest fucking thing to do in your 20s because you got plenty of it.
Well, you take today's younger generation, younger than me, there's everybody. It sounds like a broken record saying this, but there's like a sense of entitlement. I don't know how many kids today, I told you about a kid today that I send a horse to because I can tell he's different, but they think that just because they can slap a horse training title on their Facebook page that all of a sudden they need paid, just like the guys who have put all the sweat equity, and they think that they're entitled to that pay. I would have done it for free just for the opportunity to get better, because I knew I was not good enough. I knew I didn't know enough. And looking back, I probably had some natural feel and ability that helped me, but I knew I wasn't ready. I dang sure wasn't ready to be riding Trevor's horses, who, the greatest competitive cowboy to ever live.
So I want to back up a little bit. So when you were in college, who was the first real horseman that you got around that you were like, okay, this guy knows a lot more than me, and I got to figure out what the fuck he knows? Who was the first guy that you remember? Obviously, you said everybody roped better than you, okay? But as far as a horseman, training a horse, handle on a horse, etc., who was the first guy that your eyes went, okay, I got to get around this guy?
So one thing that struck my passion, right up the road from me where I live, there's a guy that's a cattle rancher, but real into colt starting. And I would have some bronc in high school or something that I would want help with, and I'd go up there, and he loved the groundwork. He would do the groundwork to a fault, nearly. He just was eat up with it. He'll be groundworking his 22-year-old just for fun.
Okay, so he's got a disease. He loves it.
Yeah, he loves it. But I liked that part of it, because he had a rock barrier, a kind of a retaining wall in his house, and he'd have his horses out there jumping up it, jumping down it, and doing all these tricks. And I was like, man, that's kind of cool. And then he could tap their foot and they would bow down to get on him. I thought that was cool, and so he would help me with that. And so I kind of liked that colt starting stuff. And then when I got to college and I got to roping, there was the guy that kind of put the roping and the horse showing together, where it was cool, because he was on horses that would just drag their wheels every time, and he roped good, and it was Steve Orth. And I started going over to his place and roping, and then
what was his horses doing that made you go, wow? What was his horses doing that you're like, okay, that's cool, I need my horses to do that?
They could just run and stop, and it was nothing special looking back at it, but I had never been around horses that slid 10 foot when you heeled a steer. It was new to me. I just wasn't exposed to that. And then I started liking the cow horse stuff, so I would go watch World's Greatest. I would go watch the Snaffle Bit Futurity and see all that stuff. And then I started taking my ranch horses, and I would go to ranch horse competitions. And you do a reining pattern, and then you box, go down the fence, and then you got to rope the calf. Started doing them because I liked that. And then I met Shannon Hall's daughter, who become a great friend of my wife and I. And she was like, hey, if you want to come over and turn back for my dad some. And I knew he won the Cut and Futurity and was just a great horseman. And so then I got around him, and I was like, he was the first guy that ever told me, you can't train a horse, be great at training a horse until you can figure out what's going on in here. He's like, any average trainer can get on one and knock them around and mash them around, but until you figure out how to train their mind, you can't do a great job. And so it took it to a different level, and then I got super interested in just
in the psychology part of it. Yes,
understanding the mind. And I think that's why I like the roping so much now, because even though there's not a lot of good horsemen in the roping, we ask them for probably more. We ask them to stand still and just blow harder than probably any other event, and you've got to figure out how to control their mind. If you can't control this, you can't control their emotions. And so it's such a constant battle to be tapped into their brains. And
is there any particular lessons? Obviously Shannon was a very wise horseman when he said you got to get inside their mind. Was there any particular lessons in particular you took from him, or the other guy that you met that would get the horses stopping that stayed with you?
Shannon taught me how to lay one down peacefully. That went a long ways.
Yeah.
No, I really did. I took him. Trevor had somebody give him a free horse, so you know how that goes.
Yeah.
Free horse is never free.
Yeah.
And this sucker would just kill you. While I was hell-bent on... Trevor knew how bad he was when he sent him, but I was hell-bent on making a good horse out of him. And so I called Shannon. I'm like, hey, this sucker will paw you, kick you, all this stuff. And he's like, bring him over. And anyway, it's funny looking back, because when people hear the term lay one down, they think it's violent and you're just whooping and beating, and it is not like that
There's
at
a
all.
whole art to laying one down getting him to do it willingly.
Yeah.
That's an art form.
I think Shannon that day thought that he was going to get this one to willingly lay down in 30 seconds or a minute, and an hour later we were still willingly trying to get it to lay down, but we outlasted.
Do you know why? Do you know why horses? Do you know why horses struggle so much with laying down? It's the last thing they do before they die. Think that through. When they get attacked by a predator, when a lion, a horse's most natural predators is anything called the big cat family. Lions, tigers, cougars, any of the big cat families, they're natural predators. The last thing a horse does before it's lights out is the lions and tigers drag it to the ground.
Yep.
Because remember, a horse's feet are his weapons. It's flight or fight. So his first option is to run away from danger. If he can't run from danger, then he's going to kick, bite, and strike to fight the lions off. But if the lions jump on him, when they drag his ass to the ground, it's lights out. That's why when you teach a horse to lay down, it fucks with their mind. It takes away their weapons. So that's why bad horses or spooky horses, when you'll lay them down, and the key word is here, I'll say it like this: when you lay them down peacefully, like 100 years ago, we used to, people used to flip them over, throw them on the ground, beat the fuck out of them, cover them up with tarps, all that shit. That's not what I'm talking about. When you will lay one down and then just rub on him, love on 100%. Him a little bit, let him sit there, let him get his air. When he gets back up, when you let him get back up, and he's like, holy shit, I was just on the ground, you're a predator, you didn't hurt me, you didn't kill me, it absolutely builds confidence in them. So that's why laying horses down messes with their head.
I've told people that, you met Will that rode over here with me today, and he seen me when he first come over. I laid one down, and I was telling him about it, and I said, a lot of people get mad and they lay him down and then they're going to whoop on him or whatever. And I was like, they need to lay down, because that's them having to submit to you and know that when they have no way to fight back or get away, that they can trust you.
Yes.
And so when they can lay there and know that, hey, I'm on your team, I'm your friend, and we're in this together, like it does something to their brain. And all of a sudden, because the horse that Shannon helped me with, he had a bad start to life, and really bad start. And so when I got him, when you would go to bridle him, he would paw at you. When you went to cinch him up, he would kick at you. And when I got to where I could lay him down, and I started every day like that, I could tap his foot and he would lay down on his side, and I would pet him. And when he stood up, he was ready to go. And that was the breaking point, because I told Trevor, I was like, hey, if you got time to lay the sucker down every day, he's a pretty good horse, but who wants
I bet Trevor's fucking eyes roll back in his head. He's like, what kind of voodoo clinician bullshit is this?
Exactly.
Clinton Anderson, Pat Pirelli bullshit, laying one motherfucker down. I bet he laughed his ass off about that. Exactly. But that's why, just all jokes aside, that's why laying them down works. Really all horse training, Miles, in my opinion, is a combination of these three things: creating movement out of a horse's feet, redirecting movement out of a horse's feet, so that's forwards, backwards, left, and right, and inhibiting a horse's feet, tying a horse up, hobbling him, or laying him down, in this case, is how you get him to be submissive. Every training method in the world, including mine, and I never say mine's the best or mine's the only one. There's no right and wrong way to train a fucking horse. I've always said that from the very beginning, and I always will, because there isn't a right and wrong way. But every way that you could name any horseman in the country that trains a horse, we're all doing a combination of those three things: moving their feet, redirecting their feet, and inhibiting their feet. And that's why tying colts up, or tying any horse up after you get training them, I always tie them up for 2 or 3 hours. When you tie a horse up after a training session, it's like a massive sponge, a dry sponge with water. It will make those colts think. When you tie them up, I used to joke and say, tie them up to the tree or post of knowledge. When you'll tie them up after a training session, especially, tying them up period, but especially during after a training session, it will ensure whatever you taught him has a much better chance of sinking in there. And there's a million different ways of laying a horse down. You know what I mean? We could compare notes on it, but if you'll take the time to do it and do it right by not hurting them, it'll make a difference, won't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But back to, you're talking about tying them up after you work them. I never send mine. And now sometimes I have to bring my expectations for the horse that day down so we can be on some common ground. My horses never go back to their stall on a bad note. Like even if they are having a bad day, and they're hot and blowing, I got to time up and get back on them. Like I said, I may have to lower my expectations down and then build on that tomorrow, but I'll come back down, get on a common ground. But if it's a bad day, and I know it's a bad day, I'm not going to let them go back to their stall and soak on it. They're going to get to stand there tied up, and we're going to quit on a good note, or no matter what that is.
Yeah.
And then they can go back. But I think, like you said, they're going to sit there and soak for the next 12 hours on whatever they learned that day. You know?
The worst thing you can do on any horse is now, maybe if it was a good lesson, you could put them straight away in the stall. But even then, I just think it's good habits to tie them up. Even if they had to be tied up in their stall, it's still not a release.
Yeah.
I'd rather tie them away from their stall, tie them on the fence, tie them somewhere else on the ranch. But even if you have to tie them in their stall, it's winter time, it's snow everywhere. The only place you can tie them is back in their stall. It's better than just turning them loose.
Yeah.
So they don't think.
DT Horses was founded with one goal in mind: produce elite performance horses. For over 20 years, we've consistently met that goal and raised the bar, thanks to our dedication and focus on what matters most. DT Horses believes that every horse we raise deserves the best start possible. With a great foundation in place, all our colts go on to excel in the discipline best suited for them. We have many top performers in team roping, cow horse, cutting, calf roping, and barrel racing. We're offering our elite horses to the public. For information about the athletes available, please contact the DT Horses office at 480-471-4348. Learn more about DT Horses and the impact we've made on the Western performance horse world at dthorses.com.
Every trainer's looking for an edge on their competition. Whether it's a better horse, better way to train it. But really, in reality, all the trainers have got access to great horses. All the trainers are doing a lot of the same techniques. To me, the next greatest edge on competition, whether you're reining, cutting, cow horse, eventing, or racing, is keeping your horses sound and ready for competition. For the last 4 years, I've been sparring my horses by Cold Creek Equine Spa, and I spar them for 20 minutes every day after I ride them at 36 degrees. It ices down all 4 legs. What a game changer. My vet bills have been cut back by 50%. My horse's soundness has been gone through the roof, okay? People think that spas are expensive. It'll pay for itself just on saving on vet bills in the first 18 months. Spas have been around for a long time, but for years they've been junk. They are broken more than they actually work. You needed to be like a plumbing engineer to make the some bitches work. Cold Creek Equine are using the latest technology, industrial strength machines that are basically maintenance free. Anybody can operate this thing. Even me as a horse trainer, I can operate it. And more than anything, it stays working. Go to their website, check them out. It's a game changer. In the next 10 years, if you're a professional horse trainer, if you don't have a spa, you will be left behind on your equine soundness. This episode is brought to you in part by Valley Equine, managing stallions that represent the performance horse industry's finest. So let me ask you then, if Shannon taught you that, who was the next major influence of horsemen? Was Trevor next, or who was the next guy that you got around that had some shit that you're like, man, I need to get that. I need to learn that.
Todd Crawford would come over to Shannon's and ride a lot. And so, he was the first one that taught me how to teach a horse to change leads.
Okay.
And then, where I'm from in Oklahoma, it's 10 miles to the nearest town. I'm out there by myself, and I always laugh because my grandpa would come by, and I'd have my smartphone, and he's like, they're tracking you on that phone. And I was like, well, they're wondering why I'm out here going in circles all day, because I would have a barn full of horses, and I would just be trying stuff, just riding them and stopping them and running them, and I was experimenting. And like I said, I rode horses and probably lost money, but I got a lot of experience.
You got a lot of experience.
And one thing, even if I wasn't as qualified at the time, I put enough time into those horses. I sent people, they got their money's worth because I spent time on those horses. And so I think a little bit of that influence, even coming and watching the Snaffle Bit Futurity and the World's Greatest. And I remember I would video the runs, the reining runs or the fence runs at the Snaffle Bit Futurity and just study that. And I spent time, I guarantee you there was a video on YouTube, how to teach a horse to stop, and a guy named Larry Troca did it. Larry, yeah. And it was 3 steps. I could probably recite that whole video because I wanted to learn how to teach a horse how to slide so bad. And so I'm telling you, I wore YouTube out. I would lay in bed at night watching YouTube videos. And so, like, I can't say that, well, this guy took me under his wing and taught me how to train a horse. I had to
But you had a desire for knowledge.
Yeah,
you had a desire for, you were hungry for it.
I was hungry for it, and you wasn't going to stop me from finding it.
That's
I
awesome.
was going to get it. And then I got to be around Trevor. And
So tell me how you two actually met. Tell me how that little interaction even happened there.
I got a phone call one night. I was in college.
How old are you at
I
this
was
point?
I would have been a sophomore or junior in college.
So you're riding half a dozen horses, but around college, what are you doing?
I had 3 or 4 rope horses, and most of my rope horses, most of them, would be like 3 or 4 year olds that we used on the ranch, and I started heading on, and so I had this gray mare that I bought for pretty cheap because she was real bad in the box. She had severe box issues, and he seen a video of me winning a rodeo of her on Facebook, or the guy that was driving for him at the time, that was a mutual friend, showed him, and she could fly. She run on the racetrack and stuff. And he called and said, hey, I seen a gray mare you had. What is she? And I was like, she's way too much horse for me. I don't rope or ride good enough to handle her. I think somebody like you would benefit from her. And he said, well, I'll pay your fuel if you'll drive down and let me try her. And I was like, hell, I would love just the opportunity to go down there. So I took her down there, and I was thinking I wanted to try to rodeo at the time. And he was like, I'll buy her, or what's your goals? And I remember the very first day I ever met him, he said, what's your goals? And I was like, man, I'm working on my roping. I've been kind of going to some rodeos around the house and liking that. And he said, well, I'll buy the mare from you, or I'll trade you a horse that I got. He was like, he's crippled and he's old, but if you want to get better at roping, he'll help you. And to this day, we laugh about it because I'm like, you hosed me on that deal, and you somehow talked me into liking it. And but he wasn't kidding. The first 2 years I made the circuit finals was on that horse.
That horse taught you where to be and how to be. What did that horse teach you? Because there's a saying, horses teach people, and then people teach horses. So when you're first learning, find a horse. Even with my customer, a 65-year-old lady that's just learning how to ride, she don't need a fucking 2-year-old.
Yeah.
She needs a 13-year-old gelding that's been there, done that, packed every kid, every lady in the country around. And then horses teach people, and then people teach horses, which is you teach a younger horse something. So what did that old horse teach you?
Trevor always says that a rope horse should feel like you got your foot on the gas and on the clutch at the same time, and you can just feather it however you need it. And like that horse, I could set him in the corner and just pull on my bridle reins, and when the gates would bang, you could feel him just push into it, but his feet wouldn't move. And when you dropped, he was running like his hair was on fire. And when you would rope, between your bridle reins was soft. And I, like at that time, I thought going fast associated, like it was like out of control, and going fast were the same thing. So if I was rodeoing, it was crazy and wild, and I thought that was how to do it. And that horse scored every time, and just had that feel where he would run his ass off and then control everything. And
so a lot more polish, a lot more control. So I'm suspecting, don't let me put words in your mouth, but that gave you that bug, I got to get that on everything.
Yeah, I started feeling what it felt like to have a real one. I'd trained some good ones, and I could put a move in them and all this stuff that it looked good, but I was like, I finally got to ride something that the winningest cowboy ever, like this is what he was using to win. And that horse had lost a step. He was getting stove up, and he wasn't enough for Trevor anymore. But
he was worth you getting by the sounds of it.
100%.
A hell of a trade. Even though you cussed him out for it, it was a hell of a trade.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And in full circle,
Did Trevor get along with the horse that you gave him in the trade?
He used her some, and then he was partners with a lady named Larry D. Guy, and Larry D. rode that mare for a long time, and now Trevor and I are raising babies out of her.
Okay,
and
so she worked out.
Yep. We've had some great ones out of her.
So from that first transaction with Trevor, did you start doing more business with him at that point?
Yeah.
He'd start sending you colts. What kind of business arrangement happened?
I sold him another mare probably a year later, and then I traded him a gelding that I had, and then we got associated. And I always tell people, like, I always conducted myself right. How you act, how you speak, address people, everything, that matters. That's what, when it comes down to somebody thinking about, man, who am I going to send this horse to? And if they don't know what anybody's credibility is, they'll at least remember how you treated them.
That's right.
And I always conducted myself
First
right
impression.
with Yep. And so when he was getting done rodeoing, they went and backstory, you know, I didn't know what they were doing, but he went and bought all them colts with Larry D. And he called me and said, hey, will you start some horses for me? And I said, yeah, how many you got? And he was like, well, we bought 15. And I was like, I've got time for one. And I said, I would love to ride more than that for you, but I have these people that are invested in me, and I've got their horses, and I can't leave them hanging. And looking back, I think he respected that
Very
I didn't
much so.
just jump on his train. And so anyway, I did a good job with that one, and then he started sending more and more to me, and eventually it got to a point where...
How long were you keeping him? 60 days, 90 days? What were you doing?
I think every time I would send him a video, he would be like, this horse is a lot farther along than it should be. So he's like, keep keeping it. And the very first one he sent me to start, I didn't get her until April of her 3-year-old year. And I rode her whole 3-year-old year. And then when she was 4, that was the very first horse that I ever showed at a rope horse futurity. And I think I showed her in 2020. And so that was the first one I got to start for him from the ground up. And I went to the futurity on her, and I remember calling him, and I said, hey, can I show this mare at the futurity? And it caught him off guard. And he's like, is she good enough? And I was like, I don't know, but I want to try it. I think, you know, I wanted to be involved. I could see where the rope horse industry was going. And I went down there, and I won like $12,000 on her, you know, and I remember...
That probably seemed like a lot of money to you back then.
It was huge. It was the first time I had ever really won much of anything, especially in the show horse world. And I remember just being so glad to hand him that check. I didn't want none of it. And he took the check and he wrote me one back for half of what that mare won, and I didn't even know that was how it worked. And he was like, no, that's yours, good job. You know, I was like, I probably got the bug then, you know, because I was like, dang, I don't even know what I'm doing, and I just made money.
You would have done it for free. Hell, you would have paid him to do it.
I was just glad for
Where
the
were you
opportunity.
training horses? Still at your dad's ranch?
Yep.
So did he have an outdoor arena by this point? What did he have? Indoor arena? Do you have any facilities? What the fuck? What's going on?
Yeah, we where I grew up, my parents split up when I was in high school, and where I grew up, we had a barn that had 2 horse pens in it and turnouts, and then we had a roping arena. And so my dad moved, and my mom still lived in that house, and I ended up building the house on that place close to my mom, and I just made my training facility out of that. And now if you go up there, that place will hold 40, 50 head of horses, and safely, and has an
all outdoor arena, nothing indoor, all
nothing
outdoor.
indoor.
You just trained outside?
Nothing indoor, but when I'm telling you the weather didn't matter, I was so hungry that I had a couple. They're kind of my OGs back then, because I could call them and it could be raining, sleeting, and I'm like, hey, I need to ride these horses, and they would show up. And I remember days where one of my buddies was like, hey, man, my saddle horn is froze. Like, and I just remember ice on his saddle horn, and we're out there running them, you know. I didn't care if it was muddy or not. If it was muddy, we would rope slower, you know. But you just couldn't stop me. And
that's passion, mate. You can't put that into people. That fire is in their fucking belly, or it's not. You know, Ian Francis, my other mentor, he has a famous saying that it's in the bottom of every one of my emails, and I live by this. He says, if you want something bad enough, you'll find a way, and if you don't, you'll find an excuse. Yeah. Didn't matter what the weather was like, didn't matter what adversary, you know, what things you had in front of you, roadblocks. Yeah. You were going to go, you know, you were going to find a way. Like when I was a lot younger as a kid, I craved knowledge. And I would like to ask questions from anybody that I thought knew more than me, which is pretty much friggin' everybody. Okay, that's about where it was. Everybody knew more than me. And I used to get a lot of resistance where people wouldn't answer my questions, maybe because I was a kid. They didn't want to give me the time of day, didn't want to answer the question. I just didn't give up. My attitude was here's the deal. When I ask you a question, you got 2 choices. You can either answer it and help me or not answer it. But either way, I'm going to go, if you don't answer it, I'm going to go over you, under you, around you, or fucking through you. But either way, you're not going to stop me. Yep. So you might as well answer the question and take credit for it, because if you don't, I'm just going to roll over the top of you. Yep. And that's something you don't teach people, Miles. It's either in them or it's not. That passion for knowledge, that passion that you can't put that in people. They're either born with it or they're not. Do you believe it or not?
100%. And then, like I said, I was riding horses outside, and people probably sent me those horses, most of them not because of my credibility as a trainer, but they knew I had a job for them.
Yeah.
They would send me horses to use, and then I would get to rope on them some, and I felt an obligation to them. Like, it didn't matter if I was getting $500 a month, because I remember charging people $500 a month, and like I said, that wasn't 20 years ago. I should have been charging them more, but I was like, man, these people are trusting me with this horse. I've got to get them trained, and it wasn't, I've got to get them trained in 6 months. It was like, I got to get them trained yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, they've got to be good. And so if the arena was too wet, I was going down the road.
Yeah.
If I was in the pasture, I was doing something. But
Weather wasn't
telling,
an excuse not to ride.
If you could have been a fly on the wall in Oklahoma, you would have thought I was on crack, because I was after it.
See, I love that. I love that. You did that in your 20s, correct?
Yep.
See, that's a special decade. That's the decade I tell young people, that's the decade to get your shit together. Don't fuck that decade up. You're never going to have the energy or the desire and the hunger in your 20s ever again. That's the decade where you're just like Superman, aren't you? Like, some of the shit we did in our 20s was stupid. You know what I mean? Like, just kind of just crazy shit that you do. But if you don't do it then, you'll never do it again. But if you party that decade off and you screw that decade off, you can make it back, but man, it's a struggle.
Yeah. Well, I did this the whole time too. I look back and I'm like, if I could have been deliberate about it, or had somebody, like I have guys around me now, I'm like, hey, if you'll listen to me and I can tell you what I did wrong, and people think I'm an overnight success. I was an overnight success. I promise you, I toiled at it forever up there. But I'm like, if I could have known where I was going and what I was doing, I could have got there a lot faster, because I wasted a lot of time.
Yeah, but that's typically what you do in your 20s as a general rule, because unless you're lucky and you've got some good mentors or you've got some people guiding you, and I did, I am very lucky, thankful for that, you do burn your wheels a lot. You do spin your wheels a lot. You know what I mean? Because you just don't have anybody mentoring you, or they're telling you, hey, listen, you're zigzagging all over this damn road. If you'll just go from point A to point B, you know, you'll get there a lot quicker. The biggest thing is you can't put passion into people. No. It's either there or it's not. And the other thing I've learned, I've trained literally hundreds of kids in my career. That's what I did for a living, is I trained people for a living. And I don't believe what I'm about to say now. I used to believe it. I used to believe that if you got a kid that was kind of lazy, not real motivated, didn't have a lot of passion, I always used to say, hey, I'll just get them around me. They'll start hustling when I hustle. No. I'll show them how to work. I'll give them a work ethic. I'll show them how to do good business. Here's what I've learned. When you've got your foot on their head and you're telling them when to shit, when to get out of bed, when to go to bed, you give them that structure, you give them that guidance, you give them that discipline, they can excel. They can go from a bum kid to having some good shit. But when you take your foot off their neck, or they leave your ranch, people always go back to what they were. Yeah. So the kids that I found like you that had passion and drive, when they left your ranch, they stayed with passion and drive. Yep. The kids that you found that were kind of lazy and unmotivated, even though you might have got them doing some really good shit and doing great hustle, and 4 or 5 years later, when they left my ranch, they eventually went back to what they were. Yep. How you find people is really how they end up in the end. Yep. I just thought that if I mentored them enough, I could make a change. I don't believe that anymore, as a general rule. Yeah. Valley Equine Reproduction is a premier equine breeding facility located in Stephenville, Texas. I've worked with the team there multiple times and had nothing but great experiences. Formerly known as the Brazos Valley Stallion Station, they offer everything. They manage over 45 stallions, including some of the most renowned in the industry. They offer mare care and breeding services, foaling out services, a recent mare program, sales fitting, and rehabilitation services. Plus, their Super Stallion Incentive Program has awarded substantial payouts. In 2024, the program paid out $1.4 million across the NCHA and NRCHA. If you're in the breeding business, you have to check out Valley Equine Reproduction. Visit them online at valleyequinerepro.com or give them a call at 254-485-8280.
Hi everyone, my name is Michael Miola. My wife Michelle and I own and run the fabulous Silver Spurs Equine Breeding Centers located in Purcell, Oklahoma and Scottsdale, Arizona. We specialize in making your equine dreams come true by breeding the finest American quarter horses in the world. finding that special horse. The one that speaks to your soul is what Silver Spurs is all about. When you come to our ranch in Purcell, Oklahoma, you will meet that fabulous weanling that once trained, utilizing Clinton Anderson's tried and proven methods, will become an extension of your body, knowing intuitively what you want to do and give you endless hours of adventure and love. Our stallions are the elite. They represent the finest bloodlines in their sport and have won every championship title during their competitive careers. Our breeding program is partially skill, partially science, partially art, definitely a gift from God, but mostly love. So if you share our passion and possess the drive and desire to compete in the show pen or tour the great American landscape with a loyal companion, creating adventures you will treasure for a lifetime, Silver Spurs has the horse you've been dreaming of.
This episode is brought to you in part by DT Horses, the elite Western performance breeder for cutting, cow horse, and rope horse futurity prospects. So, Miles, we're back after a break, mate. So, you're up there in Oklahoma, training horses. I'm getting the impression, and correct me if I'm wrong, Trevor's taken over more and more of your business as far as you're riding more and more horses for him. Is that kind of what's happening here? Is he's wanting you to do more and more riding? He's liking what you're doing? Is that right or wrong?
Yeah, no. He's really calculated. So, like, it was one horse, and then it was 2 and 3, and then it got to where I think when he approached me about doing business together, I had 7 or 8. And he just called me one day, and he said, "Is it raining up there?" I was like, "Yep, it's raining." And he said, "Load them horses up and come down to the house, and we'll have a little show and tell." And so I loaded them up, went down. I went down there every chance I could just to learn.
So he was willing to share his information with you,
100%,
take time with you, teach you, etc.
He's hard to get stuff out of. He's real tight-lipped. He doesn't say a lot. If he says something, he means it. And if he says something, he's thought about it a long time before he said it.
Okay.
But anyway, he said, "Come down." I took all the horses down, and I rode them for him. He rode through them and stuff. And when I was leaving, he said, "Hey, think about this. I think it would make more sense if we just started partnering on horses versus me, paying you to ride them." And I just told him then, I said, "I just can't afford to do that.
Yeah.
I need paid every month." And I didn't have money.
Yeah. How old would you be then?
27.
Yep.
And anyway, he said, "Well, perfect. I'll buy when I find a horse I like, or if you got the money to partner with me, we'll split him. If not, I'll pay you to ride it. We'll keep doing what we're doing." And so the first horse we bought cost $4,000, and he was a 9-year-old that was still in a ring snaffle, and I made a good head horse out of him, and he sold for like $60,000, and we just started doing enough of those deals that got built up. And really one thing that helped me was one day he called, and we were going to buy a horse, and I didn't have money, and he said, "What do you have of your own around there?" And I always had some young ones of my own. I had 3 or 4. And
were you breeding them or buying them, Miles?
I would just buy them,
yeah,
and start them, whatever. And he said, "Send me videos of them." And I sent him videos of everything I had. And he said, I'll value them fair for what we could sell them for today, and I'll give you that. I'll be partners on them. That'll give you half the equity. So he did that. Well, all of a sudden I had like $100,000 in equity that I could put into horses for me and him partnering. And so then I really got to where now me and him had probably 10 or 12 horses we were partnered on.
And you're pretty much not training for the public at that point.
Yep.
You pretty much shut that down.
Slowly weaned everything out of there.
Yeah. So let me ask you, is there a magic number of head of horses back in those days, you're still in Oklahoma, that you were like, okay, that's the magic number of head of horses that I could really do a good job on, ride correctly, put enough time in? Do you have any idea what that was?
If I got over that number, I just wouldn't sleep, I think.
Yeah.
Because I was just so hungry that I would just take whatever horse got offered to me, I would find time to ride it. And I think in your mind, if you're half-assed getting it done or if you're doing a good job. And I always just made sure I was doing a good job. But now that I've matured more, I would rather have less horses and spend more time on those and win more on them or make them worth more money. That's just a way better business plan. But I'm telling you, at the time, I wasn't making good business decisions. I was just trying to get in the mix.
Get hungry.
Yeah.
Get hungry and get experience, etc. So basically, what do you think Trevor did in those early days to improve your roping that made the biggest differences?
He was the guy that told me I wasn't good enough. You know,
He was the one that said that.
I said the guy that told me I wasn't good enough is the guy that loves me the most.
Yeah.
I mean, he's family to me.
What did he see that he said you weren't good enough? What do you think he saw in you that what needed to be improved?
The futurities had started hitting pretty good, and I was getting that bug. I think I wanted to show. I wanted to be in the mix. And when our deal started, like, everybody always said I rode Trevor's coattail. And I'm like, hell yeah, I did. Because I had an opportunity that he could have gave to anybody, but he gave it to me.
And you were smart enough to hustle.
And we would show up to a horse show, and I didn't show at first. I would show up with him on horses that I trained or helped train, and he would show them. And he could have told me to put my hat on backwards in the warm-up pen and lope in the wrong lead, and I would have done it.
Yeah.
Because I respected him that much. And so I showed up and loped horses for him, and I got them ready, and I'm like, what do you need? And I was just helping him because at that point we're business partners. I'm getting half of everything they win, and I just want to win. I didn't care
who exactly won. Yeah,
I didn't care.
Yeah.
And then I started wanting to show a little bit, and I just remember him being like, hey, when we started this deal, we started it because of I knew what you were capable of on a 2-year-old, and I knew what you were capable of on a 3-year-old. And he worked his way around, and basically it was like, you're just not good enough. And he didn't just come out and say, you suck, you're not good enough. But I knew that I was like, man, I'm not good enough to take the reins and show these things. And so I started, he would say, like, you can ride good, but you don't use your rope good enough to show a horse good. Like J.D. Yates uses his head rope so good with timing and stuff that he can just show the wheels off a horse. And Trevor's like that, and he was like, man, that guy rides good, or he can train one, but he don't use his rope good enough to show one. And so I just got hungry again.
Yeah.
I was
little passion back under you.
Yeah. And I'm
kind of wanting to prove him wrong, but I can do this.
Yeah. And so like I said, I know how much the guy loves me, and he would never say anything to tear me down. But like I said, he's the epitome of when they say it's better to be real than to be liked. He don't care if he hurts your feelings.
Just recently, I had a girl at the ranch, a student, and this girl's got quite a bit of talent, but she has a lot of immaturity. And I looked at her the other day and I said, I don't think you're going to make it here. I don't think you're smart enough or mature enough to understand how much of an opportunity you have to be here and learn and grow. I said, I would love for you to prove me wrong. Yeah. I don't think you're going to make it. I think you're going to be gone in 60 days. But I would love for you to prove me wrong. I would love to make a laughing stock of me. I don't think you will, but I sure hope you do.
Yep.
And that was my way of saying, bitch, sink or swim. Yep. Get the fuck on with it and get serious. Because I said in 10 years from now, if we fire you in the next 60 days, you will look back on this opportunity in 10 years and say, I fucked the pooch. Yep. I had an unbelievable opportunity at Clinton Anderson's ranch, and my immaturity and poor decisions ruined it.
And wish you could go back and have the opportunity.
So I said, I want you to prove me wrong. I told her that right to her face. I want you to prove me wrong. And I also said, I don't think you will. Yep. So I fucking slapped her in the face with an insult deliberately to either light a fire under that bitch's ass to get your shit together and grow up and take this seriously, or get the fuck out. One of the two.
Yeah. And like I said, he was basically like, you just got to get better, you know, and that was enough said. I was after it, you know. One
of the greatest stories I heard on the podcast about, you know, basically telling somebody you can't do it and then motivate them. Matt Gaines sat there and he said when he turned in his non-pro card, he was at a cutting, and I think it was Greg Welch ran into him, and Matt said, yeah, I've turned in my non-pro card and I want to be a trainer. And Greg said that, you stupid son of a bitch, you'll never make it as a professional trainer, and basically, you know, kind of just said you're a fucking idiot and you're never going to make it. And I could tell by the look on Matt's face, you know, I don't know if it's 35, 40 years later, that bird his ass, even to this day, and now he's won $10 million fucking dollars.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he said, right or wrong, Clinton, I was going to prove that son of a bitch wrong.
Yeah.
I was going to make it. So there's a lot to be said about a backhanded compliment. Like, I don't think you can fucking make it. Let's just see.
Yeah. No, I'll die remembering the 3 times that in the horse world, because that's what I'm passionate about. If somebody told me I couldn't play golf, I'd be like, yeah, you're right.
I don't give a fuck. Yeah,
but the three times somebody told me I couldn't or I wasn't good enough, and I'll die remembering those things, because I was like, I am good enough. I know what I'm capable of, and I know what I was created to do, and it was train horses, and I'm ready.
So let me ask you, when he said that to you, did you go back to him and say, okay, Trevor, give me point A, point B, point C. What am I not doing good enough? What skill set have I got to learn? What have I got to develop to get to where you need me to be? How did you overcome that challenge?
Just digging in. Like I said, it's hard to get little details out of him. He's not going to be like, change the angle of your swing or something. You know, he's pretty cut and dry. But I was just so eat up with knowing that, like, I had to get to the next level of roping. I had to get to the next level of riding. And
yeah, but how do you do that? Do you go get lessons from other ropers? You watch videotapes? You on fucking YouTube again? You're just studying him 24/7? There's a system to getting there is what I'm getting at. How did you get there? It just didn't fall out of your ass.
No, I can always, like, visually learn stuff and see. And I could see the timing. I could see where he put his angles of his rope and the timing of when he roped when he got to the cow and do all that stuff. And once you realize that you're not doing good enough and you really start to be conscious about stuff, it's crazy how it'll change you, because if you're not conscious about it, it's not going to affect you. When you're like, man, I need to get better at my turnarounds on a horse. Every time you turn a horse around, you're thinking about what needs to change and what needs to be better. It's like light bulbs start clicking. And so I couldn't run enough cattle. I would rope all day, and I'm still like that. The horses I brought today to rope with Tom, I didn't feel like they worked good, and I didn't get to sleep last night. I drove down here. I'm not going to get to sleep tonight, but I'll promise you in the morning I'm going to be riding them same 2 horses because it didn't feel right. Yeah. And I'm just that obsessed with, not perfection, because perfection's pretty hard to obtain in the horse world, but I'm that obsessed with getting it as close to perfect as I can.
Your wife, I get the impression, I don't know her, is pretty supportive of your career and your passion, because when you use the word obsessed, it really is an obsession, isn't it? Like, you know, even when you were back in Oklahoma training and not at Trevor's place, it sounds like you were working 7 days a week, correct?
Yeah, there's no, you can't have balance and success.
That's right. That's
the two don't live together.
All these Gen Z little fuckers or whatever they're called now, alpha or whatever the fuck they're called. I just call them pea-hearted little pricks, okay? They all want work-life balance. I always say this, if you want to be the best in the world at what you do, I don't give a fuck if it's golfing, horse training, whatever, it's got to consume you to the point of almost fucking up a lot of other shit. Typically it's relationships, kids, family. It's got to consume you. And I wasn't aware of that. I've been married twice. My career ruined both of my marriages because I was a workaholic like you. You know, I was consumed with it. 7 days a week, just consumed with it. Nobody wants to be married to somebody they never see. Nobody wants to be married to somebody that's never at home. So when you are that passionate, there is a fucking price to be paid for success. So I'm getting the impression your wife must be pretty supportive of what you're doing.
She worked an 8 to 5, and I checked cattle and rode horses all day. She would get up.
Like, what time would you start in the morning?
Oh, I mean, 3:45 in the morning. I would go check cattle. If I walked out of the house at 3:45, I could be back from checking cattle at 10. And if I had 10 or 12 horses to ride that day, she could get home from her job that went till 5 o'clock, clean all the horse stalls, feed all the horses, and I would be getting done riding about the time she was getting done with stalls, and it'd be 8 or 9 at night. And we would eat in the house, and we would sleep for 5-6 hours maybe, and get up and go again. And I think that's why her and I've been so close, because she was right there beside me through it all. And
not bitching, not why are you working, why are you doing this?
She got with me when I didn't rope good, I didn't ride good, and she was beside me then, and she was beside me this year when I won over $500,000.
Yeah. Word on the street is you don't fuck with the shit either. So she stayed with you through that. I'm just fucking with you. That's just what I read in the bathroom wall. But anyway, but she was certainly a trooper and stayed with you all those fucking years.
Yeah, and like I said, when you have a person like that, like I had some pretty big wins this year, and when I won the Big Futurity in Utah and won the World Show, and you come back up to the arena and the one that was with you through all of it, that was cleaning stalls when it was 20 degrees before she went to her real job.
Because you needed her income to survive.
I had to, because I wasn't making enough money I literally did not make enough money riding horses to pay a stall cleaner.
Yeah.
I just didn't.
Yeah.
And
you're saddling, unsaddling, you're doing all that yourself.
I did everything.
Yeah, that's what you do in the
It was
beginning.
me and her and whoever I could get to show up and maybe rope with me.
Yeah.
And so then when you win and have success and they're beside you just like they were in the beginning, it's
pretty special. Matt Gaines did a really heartfelt, celebration of his wife, Tara. He got a little emotional, and it was great to watch. You know, that clip got 400,000 views because of what he thanked his wife and Tara for being a part of his life. And that's uncut and real raw. You know, that's the shit that people don't see in the win picture.
Yeah.
You know, that
100%.
type of stuff. You know, women have got to understand when a man is on his grind, he's on his grind.
Yep.
You either get behind him on that grind or get a new fucking man.
Yep.
You can't take a man off his mission when you're that driven. I'm not talking about the plumber that's making 45 grand a year that thinks 8 to 5 is a lot of work. I'm talking about a guy that wants to rule the world.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a guy that wants to change a fucking industry. You either get on his grind with him or get the fuck off it, but there's no in between.
We just had 2 twin boys, and they had to spend 3 weeks in the NICU. And so we were at the hospital for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And we got home, and when we got home, I went to the barn. And I've been home for a week now, and I haven't left the barn. And I rode all day yesterday, didn't sleep last night, drove here today, ride with you, drive back, gonna ride again. And I told her when we got home, I said, hey, I'm really sorry I'm not in the house helping. And she said, you're the reason that I don't have to work and I can stay here and take care of these kids. And I don't have to have a job. So you keep doing your deal. And
that's pretty special.
Yeah. And Trevor said he's a family man, and his first priority is the kids and the family. And so, like, if there's a horse show on top, like there's a daddy-daughter dance during the futurity here in 10 days, and he's not going to go to the futurity because of daddy-daughter dance. And I respect that to no end. And he said, man, when them boys get here, we're not going to go to Arizona this year. We're going to stay home, and just one big family. We're going to love on them boys. And my wife didn't say nothing. But when we got home that night, she said, hey, you know how much money you can win at that futurity in Arizona if you go right? And I said, yeah, but it's not a big deal. The boys are going to be here. And she said, no, I mean, you need to go to that futurity.
That's awesome.
You need to go win.
Yeah.
And I won 80-something thousand at that one futurity last year. And she said, that will literally pay for college.
That's awesome.
Go
That's
back.
a smart woman right there.
Yep.
A lot of women wouldn't have done that. That's
Yep.
a smart woman right there.
Hi, my name is Melanie Smith with Solo Select Horses. We have been a part of the ICSI process for several years with GeneTech with exceptional results, and we continue to work with them every day to improve the technology and improve the results for our customers. GeneTech has really transformed the industry and allowed us to transform our business. I feel like they want to take the research that they get within the lab, the information we give to them, and really, once again, maximize the results that we can get for all of our customers. Because if our customers win, we win and GeneTech wins. For more information on advanced equine reproductive services, please visit genetechvet.com.
I've been doing business now at DT Horses for probably almost 10 years now. And one of the things I really appreciate about doing business with them is they're horsemen first. They care about who buys their horses, where their horses go, and ultimately they want the horse to excel at whatever event it has the most natural disposition and talent to do. Sure, they raise world champion cow horses, reining horses, cutting horses, and rope horse futurity horses, but in reality, Dean Tufton is fanatical about letting that horse tell you what event it's going to excel at. Sure, we might buy a cow horse, but it may be suited better for the rope horse futurity prospects, might be suited better for a cutter. You don't often get breeders that are absolutely fanatical about making sure those horses get the best start possible and ultimately excel in the event that they're going to do the best at. They have the most natural talent, disposition, and they enjoy that particular event. Like I said, been doing business with DT Horses now for a little over 10 years and absolutely enjoy it. One of the best places I've got to buy my horses.
For information about the athletes available, please contact the DT Horses office at 480-471-4348.
This episode is brought to you in part by Breaking Bad. the hottest new NCHA futurity sire. Again, really, I knew who you were. I could shake your hand in public, hey, Miles, how you going? But I never spent any time with you, around you, or really getting to know you. And it was at last year's, 2024 Snaffle Bit Futurity. We sat there, had a cocktail, watched the finals. And I started talking to you about your industry, and I noticed very quickly you give a shit about the horsemanship. You weren't just a fucking roper. You were a guy that liked horsemanship, liked technique, like the way a horse feels. We talk shop there for a good, 30, 40 minutes. And I'm like, okay, this motherfucker's different. There's something different about this guy, that he's not just throwing a rope. He's actually trying to build horses. And that's when I pitched it to you. I said, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'll start a 2-year-old for you. You don't pay me. You don't pay me a fucking cent. Yep. I'm going to ride it. When I say I'm going to ride it, my professional clinician, Jeff Davis, he's been with me over 15 years now. He's going to do it under my guidance, but, he does exactly what I do. But we're going to start it at the ranch for, 6 weeks, basically, 7 weeks. And I want you to come do the podcast. And I said, and you asked, why would I do it for free? And I said, I'll tell you why I'm going to do it for free. One, I want you on the podcast, so it's a good excuse for you to come to the ranch. Two, I want to know, can you get a rope horse too broke? I want to know. And you said to me, what do you mean too broke? And I said, rope horse trainers have been shitting on me my entire career. You can't have a horse too soft and supple. A horse is too soft and supple, Clinton. You got their heads tucked in too much. They're too collected. This shit won't work. That reiner shit won't work. That cow horse shit won't work. You can't have them broke. They got to have their head up. They got to have their nose out. They won't work a rope without it. And I said to you, I want to know if they're fucking right. Because I'm not a rope trainer. Never claimed to be one. Don't know how to rope. Don't even want to know how to rope. But my horseman in me says bullshit. Yeah. My horseman in me says bullshit. A broke horse is a fucking broke horse, but I wanted to either be proven right or proven wrong. That's as far as it went. I had a gut feeling how it was going to work out, but I wanted to know from, one of the best in the industry, would my style of horsemanship, of getting them soft and supple, getting control of the 5 body parts, and what we do in our typical, 55 rides is basically a 7-week program, 7 to 8 week program. I wanted to know. So you came out this morning. We put you on your 2-year-old. I think he had 60 rides by that point. What did you notice when Jeff Davis, to his credit, deserves all the credit for riding this horse. Jeff came to my tours as a 13-year-old kid with his mother in Florida. He followed me around like a bad fucking smell for years, and as soon as he got out of high school, he was you. He was at my ranch, and Dynamite couldn't fucking blow him out. I tried to get rid of him 1,000 times, and 1,001, he kept coming back. So he was the version of you, okay? And eventually, he'll get my company, and he'll run it, and he'll get the whole thing. But he had the passion that you had, okay? So he did all the work, so he needs to get credit for this, okay? But what did you, when you watched him ride this horse, what did you notice? What were your things going through your mind, positive or negative? And even though you're in front of me, shit on me. If you don't like something, fucking say it. If you don't think, don't agree with me just for the sake of it. Tell me the truth. It's called Uncut and Real Raw for a reason. I want to know, does my shit work for the rope industry?
The first thing I thought was the product that I got on today was the product that I normally get on after 8 months.
Of training.
And I think we talked about it, that colt got camped on. The whole time he's been here, it's been 30 minutes to an hour and a half every
Now, mind you,
day.
Jeff started 17 2-year-olds this year. Okay, 17. Now, for the first month, we spent a good 2 hours with each colt. He had 4 girls helping him do all the groundwork, do all that shit, because that's important to us, that they're broke, they're good with the plastic bag, you can pick up their feet, they know all the groundwork, etc. But after about ride 15, he spent 30 minutes, like a clockwork, on every colt. He had somebody saddling and unsaddling all day, and he got off one, got on the other. It was 30 minutes to the dot to get through 17 colts, okay? So we're not talking about camping on it for 7 hours straight. That'd be good for them too, but they didn't get that.
Yeah, and like people in the roping will say that they're too broke, and to me, there's no such thing as too broke. If their feet are hooked up to those bridle reins, they're never too broke. And so like that colt, for the
How was he bred, that colt?
He's by Show Me the Buckles, which Arno showed in the reining, and then out of a Major Vaquero mare that's been a great producer. We have a bunch of them coming that haven't showed, but the 2 that we have showed have won the Futurity in Fort Worth, which is the toughest Futurity to win in the roping. Not the best paying one, but it's the toughest
So
one.
out of the 17, he was the only rope horse we started. I started a 2-year-old for Matt and Tara Gaines, and the other 15 were cow horses.
Yep.
My horses that I bought with customers, DT quarter horses, cow horses, the rest were cow horses. So that was the one cutter, one rope horse, and the rest were cow horses.
Yeah. Well, that colt, I could move his hips. I could drive his hips with my feet. I could move his ribs. I could move his front end. He was soft in the face. And that's the stuff, like, generally you expect to have it in 7-8 months of riding. But, and I have, Ty Benson's rode a lot of 2-year-olds for me, and he does a great job. He's the best I've ever rode behind, And so, but like outside of Ty Benson, I've sent horses off for a year and got them back and wondered, what were they doing? Because I know the standards I have for myself when I start one, and then I wondered, these guys that I just paid for 12 months, what the heck they've been doing, And then you get on like this colt that you've had for this amount of time, and he does all this stuff.
Well, he had exactly 60 rides. That's how many rides he actually had, 60.
I think it makes you realize how much we've lowered our standards for colt starting, because they're capable of it, and if you apply it right, you can do it without frying them,
That was a good point. My mentor, Ian Francis, he was the master of 2-year-olds. I basically copied his 2-year-old program for the first 6-7 weeks, okay? He could get young horses doing the most amazing, cool things, and everybody in Australia thought that he used to have to beat them up to do it. I worked for him. I watched him ride them. He was a true natural horseman. I don't have any natural talent. I'm man-made, my skill set. I don't have natural feel and timing, okay? But this guy did. He could get young horses to do the most amazing shit, but not forcing them to do it. Getting them to think it was their idea. It was a knack. I studied the techniques as best I could, but I don't have that natural talent. But you are right. When in Australia, after 6 weeks of riding, you need to be able to lope a 15, 20-foot circle, bridled up. I'm not talking about nose stuck out. I mean bridled up, stop, turn, roll back, spin it around like a reiner, open and shut gates, stand on its fucking back, crack a stock whip, go gather cattle on it. I mean, it's got to be like a 15-year-old gelding or you didn't get paid. Yep. That's what I did for years in Australia. When I first came to America, and you guys your colt starting over here as a culture is kind of like a 90-day colt starting. When you send a colt to somebody, it's generally for 60 to 90 days. You know what I mean?
To the left and lope to the right.
You know what I mean?
Days.
They get a little bit of left lead, a little bit of right. If the fucking thing stops and backs up 2 steps, everybody's panties are wet and they're all happy. Yeah. When I came over here and saw that, I about freaked the fuck out. I'm like, you assholes have no idea what you're missing out on. I can't believe the bar is that fucking low. So a lot of people said you're just arrogant saying that. Tell me I'm full of shit. You saw 60 rides.
Yeah. No, I felt it. That colt, he loped good, and I was counter-cantering him and pulling his head each different direction, and you and Jeff are like, we haven't even asked him of that
Not
yet.
at the lope. We do it at the walk and trot, yeah.
But he handled it. He never broke stride. He was so comfortable loping in his left lead or in his right lead, whatever it was, that I could lope him. And I do it on my head horses all the time, because once they get to where they can move balanced each direction, I spend most of my time in the left lead. When I'm roping, I don't have any use for the right lead. But I need to be able to lope them in a tiny circle to the right in their left lead. And like that colt with just what he had, I could guide him. I could, bend him, flex him, counter him, whatever. And he just traveled like a 7 or 8 year old horse. Yeah. And
did that surprise you? Like, you've seen some of my shit on YouTube. You saw the Epic Titan series.
100%.
You kind of know who I am and what I like. Did it surprise you that colt was that broke with that many rides, or did you expect it? I'm curious about that. Because I haven't asked you this off camera or not. I've asked.
No, it surprised me that he rode that good. Mm-hmm. I thought that
what did you think was going to happen when you showed up?
That he would have a lot of time messed with, like, the groundwork, the loading, the jumping stuff, and I'm all for that because it's good for the mind.
Yeah.
But I didn't know in the saddle that he would be that good. And you talk about the, being too broke. There's no such thing as too broke for me. Mm-hmm. That colt moved his feet. I could move his ribs. In team roper terms, I could set his body up like I was wanting him to come through the turn as a heel horse, or I could set him up how I would want him to turn a cow heading and move his hips like I would face. And normally that's the stuff that we're doing at the end of their 2-year-old year. I could turn that colt out for 5 or 6 months and not be behind. If he just grew up and got more mature and stronger, then he would be ready to go come August, you know.
I had a mission when you came out. I said that to Jeff. And it's, again, we didn't put extra time into your colt. I want to make that very clear. We rode him just like the others, okay? Now, because he was a rope horse, he was a little more number than my cow horses, not quite as feely as them, etc. Okay, but he had a good mind on him, okay? My goal was to depress the fuck out of you. I wanted you to be depressed, that you're like, okay, how do I get this on every 2-year-old? I wanted you to be pissed off because I knew the first thing you'd say to me, or at least I planned on, is you would say, can you take more? And my answer is no, you can't afford me. And you looked at me and you said, what do you mean? I said, I charge $7,500 for doing this, plus $1,100 a month board. You looked at me.
I'm going to bring an 8-horse back tomorrow.
Yeah. You looked at me, I don't know if you remember this, and you said, you're too cheap. And I said, what? You said, I'd give you $10,000 to do this.
100%.
And I asked you, I said, why would you pay me $10,000 to ride a colt for 60 days? And you explain it.
Because it would take 8 to 10 months for most people. And like I said, I'm riding behind guys that I think are amazing hands right now, and they do the best job. That's why I'm having them ride my horses. But most people that ride 2-year-olds, it would take them 10 months to get that. And if you're paying them $1,500, $2,000, or whatever they charge,
anybody decent should be charging $2,000 a month.
Yeah, for 10 months. I mean,
that's $20,000.
You're money ahead.
So even if you gave me $10,000, you think you're cheating me. You're like, I just saved $10,000.
I'd feel great about it.
Yeah,
cheating you.
I love it.
Yeah, it wouldn't bother me at all.
I can tell by that look on your face. And again, this is not a fucking advertisement for my business. I don't give a shit.
I would have. It wouldn't have hurt my feelings one bit to say, hey, they're to this or they're to that. And like you said, rope horses, they can, if they get over the bridle enough that it pulls their shoulders down, it's an issue. I always say, there's a saddle horn in front of me, and I've got a dally when I'm heeling. So if that head affects what the saddle horn does, it's a problem.
I like that theory. Say that one more time. That makes sense.
My saddle horn's in front of me, and that's what I got a dally. So I don't care what his head does, as long as it don't affect my saddle horn. If him being too far over the bridle, if he tips over forward and my saddle horn...
Which means he's not using his rear end?
Yep. If my saddle horn drops that much when I'm coming to dally, it's a problem. Mm-hmm. As long as those shoulders come up, if his butt comes up under him and his shoulders are up, I don't care what his head's doing. The yellow horse I rode today,
Your 2-year-old?
Your
old
my
rock
heel
man?
horse. He stops with his head down nearly every time, but he holds his body so good that it doesn't affect my horn at all. So I'm okay with that. So the whole myth of, a rope horse can't be bridled up, it really don't matter what his head's doing as long as it doesn't affect your saddle.
Yeah. See, to me, the mouth is nothing more than a telegraph station to get to their feet.
Yeah.
As long as their feet, and especially their rear end's doing what you want, is if it's stuffing in the ground or it's driving when you're running, and as long as their feet are doing what you want, the mouth is nothing more than a telegraph station to get to their feet. But if there's resistance, you think about it. When you go from your hands to a horse's mouth to a horse's feet, there's a triangle there. Anytime your horse throws his head up, gaps his mouth, throws his head down, any resistance in his head stops the signal from the bridle reins getting to his fucking feet. So I want no resistance in that triangle. From my hands, I've got to get my hands to make his feet do something. Well, any resistance through that mouth delays that signal.
Yep.
So to me, the softer I can get them, the more supple I can get them, the more responsive I can get them, gets that signal to that horse's feet now.
Yep.
But when he throws his head up, he's shaking his head, he's gapping his mouth, or the opposite, let's say he's throwing it down on the ground. He's stopping with his head on his chest.
Yep.
That signal's not getting to his feet.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
It's not easy making change. It's not easy raising champions. It's not easy breeding excellence. But the equine industry demands nothing less than the finest. That's when true greatness is born. At Valley Equine, we nurture that greatness every day. we cultivate the next generation of champions, the future icons of the arena. There's a lot of dedication involved, and we've been committed for more than a decade. Through trials and triumphs, we've been there, steadfast in our mission. Today, we are the leader in equine breeding, with specialized expertise in producing tomorrow's champions. We drive the evolution of equine excellence through innovation, empowering breeders to shape the future of the industry. We firmly believe that the world of equine breeding is constantly changing, and that we can too. Advance with us. We are Valley Equine, many years in the making and committed to excellence.
Visit valleyequinerepro.com to learn more.
Breaking Bad is by the hottest stallion in the industry out of a great mare, Sweet Abra. He is athletic, extremely cowy, and was easy to train. He's a 3-time major events open champion with lifetime earnings of $181,000 and counting. He is subscribed to all the major NCHA and NRCHA programs and is in the Legacy Bonus Program with an estimated payout of $1 million at this year's NCHA Futurity. His 2025 breeding fee is $4,500 plus shoot fee. Breaking Bad is owned by Fultz Ranch, the previous owners of Metallic Cat and Stevie Ray Vaughan, the same people that made those two stallions household legendary names in the cutting and cow horse industries. Mention the Uncut and Real Raw podcast for free apparel with a paid contract. The thing about it is most horse trainers, like in the cutting world, for many, many years, cutting horse trainers would all say this: oh, you can't get a horse broke in the cutting. They won't work a cow if they're soft or supple, or they'll bridle up. That's always, I've heard that my whole career. Wesley Gallion smoked them. Wesley Gallion's horses are so fucking broke doing dry work. I have never ridden one, I got to say that, but I've been around him enough to watch him warm his horses up and back and stop and bend and turn. Fuck me, they look broke to death. Yep. They cow, look at him, they cow a lot. So I'm not saying every horse trainer is talented enough to get them broke in the face and the body, but to say the word you can't get a cutter broke and go work a cow is bullshit. Here's what I like about, from the outside looking in, about the Futurity rope horse deal, from a horseman's perspective. That's what I am, not a roper. I love this Futurity horse industry that you guys have created. What is it, in the last 5 years, 6 years? What do you say?
It's been 10 or 12, but the last 5 years it's come on strong.
I love it from a horseman standpoint because it's putting horsemanship back into roping. Yeah. Because prior to this, most ropers are fucking shitty horsemen. I'm probably going to get punched in the face at the next bar for saying it, but fuck it, I'll say it. They're shitty horsemen. The Futurity deal has put horsemanship into the roping industry.
Yeah. That's why.
Will you agree or disagree?
100%. And that's why, like, people will say I'm an overnight success. I'm not an overnight success. I always say, I've roped my whole life, basically, but I've invested majority of my time, and it's my passion, into the horses. So now when this Futurity world come on, I had invested all this time into the horsemanship side of it, and that's what most people hadn't done. And I've roped enough that all of a sudden it was 10 times faster for me to elevate my roping than it would be for me to learn horsemanship. Horsemanship takes years and years. I've been roping for years and years. Now I've elevated my roping a lot more rapidly than I could have had to learn horsemanship. And so all of a sudden it looked like I was an overnight success. I've been working on horsemanship for
and it's ongoing, isn't it?
20 years. It's nonstop.
See, to me, when I watch the best guys rope, it's hard to separate their roping skills. They're all so good with a rope. Where you can separate them quickly is their horsemanship or the horsepower. Those two things are the two variables that change dramatically. Their actual skill with the rope is, they're all, in my opinion, from the outside looking in, tell me I'm full of shit, look pretty accurate. You know, they're pretty on par with each other. But the horsemanship part and then the quality of horse flesh is where you can sort the men from the boys out. Is that right or wrong?
The horses separate the top.
Yeah.
The top, I'm going to say the top 10, 15 guys that are showing up to the Futurities.
Yeah.
It comes down to who has the best horses and who invested the most time in horses. Because I've had horses that weren't the best horses, but I've spent way too much time on them probably, but no, I shouldn't say way too much. I spent 3 times as much time on them and was able to go win on them.
Yeah, because the time on them under their back, even if he's an average talent, will pay off more from you than a talented horse that's not getting ridden enough.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing about it is most horse trainers, to me, the business model is so fucked up, or they've fucked it up, or both, that they're taking on so many horses they can't ride them enough. Yeah. Well, if they could charge $7,500 a month, they don't need to take 35 horses in training. Yep. They can take 5.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
100%.
You know, they don't have to take 40 horses in training.
Yeah.
So what to me is it's about technique. I'm looking. The reason I studied Ian Francis so much, he won the Reign in Futurity in Australia 5 times, won the Cut in Futurity twice, reserve champion twice. When he would go to horse shows, I would sit on a fence as a kid and study this motherfucker. He was just doing shit that was different from everybody else's, Miles. His horses were so soft and so bridled, and we'd go to AQHA shows, Miles, and they don't have ground preparator like Rainers. It wasn't back in those days. It wasn't manicured ground. They're stopping in fucking dirt 8 inches deep. You know what I mean? It's boulders, it's rocks. His horses would run down there in the raining, and I mean, they would just bury their ass in the ground, dirt up to their hocks. Yeah. You know what I mean? And they just break in the back. They wouldn't slide anywhere, but oh my God, just break a hind leg off on the ground. Every other trainer's horse would run down there, stop. The ground would be so deep, they'd get in, they'd puke it up, they'd come out, they'd get back in, they'd puke. I mean, this guy was doing shit that was so different from everybody else. I said, I gotta know what he knows. Yeah. I fucking watched him like the ultimate creeper. Everywhere he went, I followed him around like a bad smell. When I called him up for a job, he said, how much do you need to make? I said, I don't care. Yeah. I just need you to feed me, and I need you to give me a place to sleep. If you can do those 2 things, I'm in. Yeah. He said, I'm done. I got you here. Come down. I didn't give a fuck as long as he could feed me and give me a place to live. I wanted to know what he knew. Yeah. Because he's doing shit, Miles, that was different from everybody else in Australia. And I think he's still doing shit to this day. He's 84, he doesn't ride anymore. You saw today what Australian horsemanship brought to America. Yep. You saw that today. We got more done in 60 days than most people get done in 10 fucking months.
Yep. That's how Trevor's been for me in the roping, because he can just dominate on a rope horse, but I got to being around him and seeing how he did stuff different. And it's stuff that, like, couldn't explain it to the general public, but the more intelligent I got about training a rope horse, I was like, he does stuff different. Like, his horses don't come apart.
Yeah, they look different.
Yeah, they can live in the fire.
Yeah.
And he's just, like you said, that guy took you that way because he intrigued you that much that it was different. That's how Trevor's been for me. Yeah. And not so much on the 2 and 3 year olds, but on the rope horses. And I've just wanted to tie it all together. I wanted to be the guy that I was dang good with a 2-year-old. I was dang good with a 3-year-old, and I'll show up at the futurity and I'll win there too.
Yeah.
There's not many people that can do it all.
No.
You know.
It sounds like Ian and you guys are a lot the same. Is that passion there? You know, it sounds like, you know, Ian and Trevor sound a lot the same. Ian was not a naturally good horse instructor, teacher. Yeah. He was so naturally gifted at what he did. He did a lot of clinics, and he got good at it as he got more of it, okay? But you wouldn't call him a natural communicator. Yeah. The only natural good thing I've got is I can bullshit and I can talk to people. I'm not a naturally good horseman at all, okay, as far as natural talent goes. Yeah. Ian was naturally talented. It sounds like Trevor and that were a lot the same, is that they could do shit, but they couldn't exactly explain it.
Yeah, I always say it's like
detail by detail.
It's like snow skiing. If you've done it from a really young age, you can't teach somebody how to do it because you don't know how to not do it.
Yeah.
He's like that with roping. He has a hard time communicating how to do it. He's like, I don't know, just rope the cow. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm like, I know there's more to it than that. And so, like, I had to be really study, like be really invested in just figuring stuff out.
I asked you on that 2-year-old you sent me after you got off him and rode him. And I told you, go run stop that motherfucker. Go pull him around. Go haul ass around. Don't set him up for success. Set him up for a little failure. Yep. I asked you when you got off, I said, what has he got to do different now that you'd want to see at the end of the year?
Yeah.
Tell me what you said to me.
Just get more mature. like be mature enough to run harder and stop harder. You know, most horses aren't even started right now.
Yeah, he's had 60 days training.
And he's broke from his head to his tail, and he can stop and turn around and side pass and do all this stuff that, like, really he's so far ahead of his time. And most people, you know, they cringe.
See, I want to stop you right there for 1 second. You're right and wrong in this regard. You're right, but I maybe shouldn't have said the word wrong. I don't think he's ahead of his time. What he did, I expected. That's the difference in America. You guys think they're ahead of their fucking time. They're not.
Yeah.
I'm going to look like an asshole for this podcast. I don't give a fuck. It is not ahead.
Yeah.
This is what they can do when you get them broke.
Yeah.
Jeff didn't have one day to ride your horse. He rode 17 two-year-olds.
Yeah.
6 days a week. He didn't have time to double up if one needed an extra ride.
Yeah.
I want people to get in their minds, let's not think they're ahead. This should be expected.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm trying to say?
I like that. I like
Raise
that.
the fucking bar.
Yeah. Raise the bar. I like where he's at, because I think people talk about crippling horses and stuff. When you have to start pushing them to get to a point, that's when you start breaking them down.
Yeah.
Like this colt.
Was he missing a bunch of hair? Had we roughed him up a bunch? No, that's my point. He didn't have fucking sperm
marks on his side.
He didn't have sperm marks all over his side. His mouth wasn't fucking tore up. You know, you could tell we didn't torture this son-bitch to make him do it, because that's the first argument.
You can feel it. If you got enough feel, you can feel when they've been forced to do that. And I'm not gonna lie, I was curious to see if he felt mad.
Yeah.
If he would have done that stuff and felt mad, I wouldn't even been disappointed. I would have been impressed that he could do it, and I'd been like, well, I'll ease up on him and turn him out for a minute and let him get over his hurt feelings and go back at it. He didn't feel mad, and I expect you to be able to do that with a horse. Mm-hmm. You know, if you sent one to me, you need to expect me to be able to do that.
Yes.
That's expected. But
owners should expect more out of their horse trainers.
Yeah, but I didn't expect for him to feel that willing. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, he may feel a little bit cooked, and that's fine, because we've got a long way down the road, and that's good. He didn't feel like that.
No, because he's not cooked.
Yeah.
We didn't treat him. The only difference between how he rode today and the other 15 cow horses is the cow horses could just turn quicker. They just had a little more foot speed. They're feelier, the cow horses. And I can understand from the limited I know about roping why you don't want them ultra feely, ultra cowy. Yep. You know what I mean? So I could see why you kind of want them just a tad number and so forth. But he kept up with the group. You know, he wasn't an exceptional athlete by any means. He was good-minded. I wouldn't say he was exceptional-minded. He was lazy. When you needed to kick his ass, you could kick his ass every 10 days and light a fire under him, and he's, okay, sir, we're good to go.
Yeah.
But we purposely didn't put more time into that colt because I wanted this to be a real experiment.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I wanted you to say, Clinton, hey, the getting them broke like this is going to fuck this horse's career.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or, hey, this is going to help me get to where I need to go further down the line. You know, to me, if you just turn that colt out for 5-6 months, bring him back in, ride him for 30 days, and then just go on with him, he's good to go.
I'm going to take him home, ride him 4 or 5 days, get a feel for him, and I'm going to kick him out and let him grow up while we're running around to futurities, and I'll get him up in 3 or 4 months and go back after him.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of colts back. And like I said, Ty Benson's been riding mine, and he does an amazing
a good job. You're
job.
damn right. I've got colts from Ty before. He does a damn good job.
And he's good. But outside of him, I've got horses back, and I was like, I need to double up and go 2-a-days, you know. And I've yet to get horses back that I was like, I can kick him out for a minute, and I'll still be in a good place.
You mentioned something about double up on a colt. I told you this a little bit at lunch when we had lunch today, but I'll repeat it now on camera. You know, we're talking shop now. We're talking horse training now, not fucking careers and all that. We're talking shop. I told you at lunch today, if you want to really advance any horse, whether it's a 2-year-old, it typically works best with a 2- and 3-year-old, but it'll work on any age horse. If you'll ride a horse Monday, twice Tuesday, once Wednesday, twice Thursday, and once Friday, and give him the weekend off, you'll be shocked how much they advance. It's technically 7 rides for the week, but it's over 5 days. And there's a magic formula. And on the Tuesday and Thursday, you must separate the rides by at least 7 or 8 hours. Like ride that colt first. You know, when you first get up, he's the first one you ride, and he's the last one you ride at the end of the day. Don't ride him like now and then 2 hours later. There's something about giving him some time to just lay down, rest, get his air, drink, eat. There's something to it. Because when you give them the weekend off, they brighten right back up. Usually by Friday's ride, you can feel them dragging ass a little bit. And that's the secret. Once they start dragging ass mentally, they need a break. You let them freshen up for 2 days in a stall. Don't turn them out. Leave them in a stall. Let them freshen up for 2 days. You come back Monday, and they're ready to attack the week. I've done this experiment over 30 years, fuck with the different days, like twice on one, I've done twice on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They get too tired. They get grumpy and they start wringing their tail. They get, you know what I mean? I've done every formula of this, but if you'll do it twice on Tuesday and twice on Thursday, you'll be shocked how much they'll advance.
Do you think that takes like the redundancy out of just every single day for them?
No, what I think it does is the second ride on Tuesday and Thursday, most times, especially you're keeping colts, 2 and 3 year olds in a stall, they're on a felfa, they're getting fed up, they got some damn good feed. They're not on a fucking ram bale out in the middle of the cow field, and they're turned out. They're in a box stall. The first 5-6 minutes of every ride on a 2 and 3 year old is a little bit of fuck off time. They're a little bit fresh. They're looking around. They're leaning to the barn. They're leaning to their bullshitting buddy tied to the fence. There's 5 to 10 minutes where you two are just getting on the same page. Then you're on the same page. When you come out for that second ride on Tuesday and Thursday, there's no getting together. The second you throw a leg on them, they're like, yes, sir, I'm in the game. I'm in the game. That's what it is. It's that second ride is almost like Miles' advanced learning. There's something about that second ride. Now, I've done the experiment over the years where I've ridden them twice on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They went backwards. Too tired. Too tired, too exhausted. Mentally, they're just, they're over it. 6 days a week works damn good too. One ride a week for 6 days a week works damn good. But if I had my choice as a horseman to ride horses, and I understand most horse trainers can't do what we're talking about because they've already got 5 to 10 too many fucking horses and what they need to have there. So they're just lucky to get through the group as best they can. But if I had a perfect magic wand, every horse gets ridden 7 times a week, but they get ridden over 5 days and they have the weekend off. Go do an experiment with that. Pick one horse. Try to pick something that's maybe a little immature, maybe a little fresh, maybe a cocky stud colt, something that is talented but a little bit of a jackass. You know what I mean? Like, you got to get in his fucking mind a little bit. You know what I mean? Do that experiment. I'd be curious to see how it works for you.
That's interesting. I will, because I like mixing it up like that. Having new stuff to try.
Hunter Menzel, when he was training 2-year-olds, and doing the whole cutting deal and training 2-year-olds, me and him did some experiment with it where he would ride his 2 sets of colts. He would ride them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday twice. Turn them out for 3 days, bring in group number 2, ride them Thursday, Friday, Saturday, twice a day. That worked wonders as well. They still got 6 rides a week, but it was over 3 days. Me and him experimented with that too, and that was a damn good program too. That was a close second to twice on Tuesday, twice on Thursday. You ride every horse twice, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then they had the rest of the week off, and then the second group Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But the key is you must separate the time. Like start with horse 1, ride to horse 10, and then go back to 1 again. You got to give them as much time between the rides as you can.
It needs to be like a new day.
It needs to be like a new day. Yes, that worked really well as well. Me and him got a lot of, we experimented notes on that. We both did that same program together. They still got their 6 rides a week, but we felt like it was even more powerful than riding them Monday through Saturday. We're going to take a little break here. I got some more questions to ask you about horse training and shop here, okay? But we'll take a break, freshen up a cocktail. I appreciate your honesty, and I just love to see the horsemanship coming back to the roping industry. Because I feel like if ropers don't get their horsemanship together, they're going to get left behind.
Yeah. Well,
You agree or disagree with
we
that?
have such a great industry because, like we said earlier, it's the closest thing to golf.
Yes.
In the cutting, cow horse reining, if somebody wants to come show a horse, they got to learn to ride good.
Yeah.
In the roping, you can ride as bad as you want, and there's a horse out there for you, and you can go compete and have fun. And I love that about it. But I'm passionate about horsemanship. The more we can elevate the horses, breeding, training, roping, everything.
That's why
the
I
better the
wanted to
industry
do this experiment with you, because when I spoke to you at the snaffle bit, I'm thinking to myself, do I want to spend 60 days with a colt for somebody that doesn't give a shit? I'm not joking
Yeah,
about it. That's why I did it.
100%.
I'm looking at you thinking, okay, this motherfucker likes horsemanship. He gives a
100%.
shit. He's passionate. I'm like, okay, I'll invest some time into this guy. If I would have thought for 1 second that you're just going to put your hard hand on this colt when he gets home and you're never going to ride him and see him, I couldn't have given a rat's ass. Wouldn't have done it in a million years because a lot of time went into it.
Yeah.
Let's take a break. I want to come back. I got some shop questions for you about training horses and where the rope horse industry is going. Let's freshen up a cocktail and we'll be back, mate. Great stuff. Silver Spurs Equine owns and stands over 30 champion performance horse stallions. They strive to provide options to top prospects for every preference and budget. Reining is the main focus of Silver Spurs breeding program, and they have developed their $1 Million Challenge as an incredible incentive that offers huge payouts to the champions of 7 different reining competitions around the world. Silver Spurs also raises about 150 foals per year at their ranch in Oklahoma, and each one is offered to the public for sale. This provides a wide variety of options to buyers looking for their next prospect, and most would be eligible for the $1 Million Challenge. Find the perfect cross of traditional performance horse bloodlines combined with the modern dynamics of today's performance horses. All available prospects can be found at silverspurssalehorses.com.
How do you know what it takes to become successful? Talk to someone who's done it. Clinton Anderson became a multi-millionaire by leveraging his passion for horse training into a global brand and media empire, starting with nothing but the change in his pocket and the will to succeed. In doing so, he revolutionized an industry and became a celebrity. Now, you can put his experience and advice to work for your business. With Clinton Anderson's business consultancy, you can tap into Clinton's unique perspective, hear his straight talk, and get his no-nonsense advice. Just imagine yourself armed with Clinton's hard-earned knowledge and entrepreneurial spirit. So whether you own a ranch or any sort of business at all, we invite you to discover the transformative power of Clinton Anderson's leadership and innovation in your business. Call 1-888-287-7432 to take your business to the next level today.
Let's talk a little bit about where the rope horse futurity industry is going. Is it getting away from the traditional jackpot type ropings that we've seen for the last 30, 40 years? Is that always going to be there? Where's this industry going? Because if you would historically, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys bought our rejects, cutting rejects, reining rejects, cow horse rejects. If it was a reject, you motherfuckers picked it up for 20 cents on the dollar, maybe 10 cents, and made it work, okay? Mm-hmm. But it seems like in the last 5, 7, 8 years, you guys are breeding to your own studs now, breeding out of rope horse mares, you're breeding to racehorse stallions and cow horse mares. You guys are starting to develop your own almost registry as far as bloodlines and breeding. If you would have told me that 10 years ago, I would have laughed at you. I would have said, these fucking ropers are too goddamn cheap. They're never going to pay for a horse. They're never going to give a shit about bloodlines. They're never going to give a shit about, any of that type of stuff. But I was wrong about it. Tell me where it's going.
The jackpot deal is so huge that we have to have the futurity world that's now we have guys that are focused on training horses for our industry because our industry is huge. I think the World Series finale that goes on during the NFR, I want to say it paid out $12 million this year in prize money. And the for the people that don't understand the roping, like it's on a handicap system. So you start out like as a 3. If you're a beginner, you're a 3. If you're at the top, and if you're a top header, you're a 9. And so there's ropings for every level. Well, the lower number ropings have the most people in them. And so that's where the money is. So in Vegas, say the number 9, which is a lower number roping, it pays $300,000-$400,000 to win it. The guys roping in it are businessmen that just rope on the weekends, or people like my wife who think that if she doesn't practice, she's going to perform better because she won't overthink it. And I'm like, power to you, because that's the level she's roping at. She's competitive at that level. And so we have such a cool industry. Like I said earlier, it's like golf. Everybody can do it. But the main question I got asked in 2024, this is talking to, like, we have the Team Roping Journal, which is a huge publication. If it happens in the team roping world, it's in the Team Roping Journal on social media or in the magazine. And they just bust their tails at keeping track of that world. The main question they asked me last year is if we can train enough horses to sustain the growth of the team roping industry. Like, can you imagine them coming and saying, hey, we're not training enough cow horses to keep up with what these amateur or novice riders need. That's the problem we have in the team roping right now. So all of a sudden the futurities are going crazy, and you got guys that are really good hands, like, you know, Andy Holcomb, Tate Kirchenslager, Dakota Kirchenslager, Cade Rice. Like, those are some of the guys that are in the rope horse futurity that their barns are overflowing. Because it's growing so fast. And not necessarily Trevor and I, 'cause we just don't ride for the public. We're pretty secluded, and but it's that we have to have the futurity system to get these horses trained.
Who got that started? Meaning that who took traditional jackpot roping, the NFR, rodeo roping, where it's all timed, correct? It's a timed event.
Yep.
If the horse fucking throws his head up or is shitty in the box, nobody cares, correct? It's whoever has the fastest time. Who came up with the system of saying, okay, we're going to start judging horsemanship now. We're going to start judging, does the horse stand still in the box? Does he throw his head up? Does he stick his ass in the ground? Who was the innovator of all that deal? Who got that started?
They had always the jackpots and rodeos, and then they had the AQHA showing. But it was notorious for not being realistic enough. They wanted the head horses, when you rope, to slide almost to a stop and then fall out of there and go to the end of the rope and jump around their front end of face. And basically they would take what should be a 6-second run, they'd turn it into an 8-second run because of how the horse operated. So it had a bad rap, and it was just judged.
Did ropers laugh at that? Did
guys like
timed guys kind of snub their nose at those guys?
Guys like Trevor would, if you paid him enough, he would show up and show your horse at the World Show.
Yeah.
But
it was considered a bit of a joke, was it?
He said that style of head horse made him vomit in his mouth. Yeah. Word for word. That was how he described it. But it's changed now, and it's a different style. But they took basically that, where it was emphasis on the horse, and then the jackpot that's emphasis on the time, and they mixed it together, and that was Jay Wadhams. And Jay Wadhams and like J.D. Yates, they dominated the AQHA horse showing for a year. And I think Jay probably seen that there was a gap in between there, where it's like, this is so focused on horse showing that it's not realistic. This is timed only, and it's ugly. Yep. And it don't matter. You know, the horses matter to an extent, like how they operate, but there's no eye appeal to it at all. And combine that. And so now, you know, you got.
So what were those two guys that you think put that together?
J.D. Yates and Jay Wadhams. They were the big dogs in the AQHA. Yeah. And Jay Wadhams started the American Rope Horse Futurity, which was the first rope horse futurity association. And so that was Jay Wadhams. And
so when he did that first rope horse futurity, did anybody think this was going to take off? This was a joke? This wasn't going to work? He must have been a visionary son of a bitch.
I wasn't around when it started. But, like, talking to my buddies that were, like, Joseph Harrison, he worked for Bobby Lewis since he was 12 years old. And Bobby would go to the AQHA shows, and Joseph, I forget what year he said, maybe it was like 2012, in Lincoln, Nebraska, they had like a little rope horse futurity after, and they figured out a way to, you took, you know, say your total score was an 80 and you would plus or minus from 80 or whatever. Well, they would also take 80, and then if you were an 8-second run, it would take 8 seconds off of your 80. So you're a 72 for that judge. So it basically made where time was was one of the judges. That's how they do it. And Joseph said they started doing these deals, and it would get a few teams here and there, and it just grew and grew. And I want to say like 2017, they got a contract to have it during the Snaffle Bit Futurity in the John Justin. And
wasn't Dean Tufton a big part of that? Something tells me Dean had a lot to do with that first rope horse fraternity. Have I got that wrong?
The first few, 2 or 3,
he put up the money.
Yeah,
I don't know what he did.
He helped Jay a lot.
Yeah,
and rightfully so. Dean's
a horseman. He cares about the horsemanship part of the roping industry, without a doubt.
Yeah, he's a guy I enjoy talking to. You ask if we had done any business. I hadn't done any business with him, but I like talking to him.
I'll send him videos of my cow horse runs and ask him his opinion. He's got a good eye. Yeah. Even though he doesn't train cow horses, he's a rope guy.
He's infatuated with the process.
He loves videotaping. He's got a good eye. I respect his decisions. I train horses for him.
Yep.
And I'll send him videos of his horses every 6 weeks. And when we video him, Miles, we show the whole fucking ride. From the time I step on its back to get off. And if it's a good day or bad day, it still gets filmed.
Yep.
We don't shut the camera off for shit. And he loves that. And so it's not like we're just doing 5 seconds of it turning good or 2 seconds of it stopping.
I don't want to see the good stuff.
No, he wants to see the ugly shit too. So I'll send him an entire run of a horse, and I like picking his brain because he's got a damn good eye on him.
Yeah, he had a big part to do with that getting started down there, and then it's just grown. Now we have, like, in the barrel racing world, they've always had these stallion incentives, and so the added money was driven by the stallion incentives, and so now we have associations that, you know, are incentivized by the stallion programs, and so now we have futurities that are paying $40,000, $50,000, $100,000, and like now we're able to win good money. I had a 4-year-old mare this year I won $165,000 on, and that was unheard of 2 years ago because you could have won first place at every show and not won $125,000, you know, and it's just the money's coming on so fast because the industry's just
Do you think
growing.
you guys as an industry will get your own registry?
I don't registry. How you mean?
Like AQHA papers, but your own registry. You don't see it going that way? Do you think for sure it's going to get its own set of stallions, own set of mares, own set of bloodlines?
Yep. I think we're already there. There, like we have a stallion right now that's got a size 2 foot, and he weighed 1,300 when he was a 4-year-old, and could move his feet good enough to win at the futurities. And you're seeing all these 14 one-hand cow mares that weigh 1,000 pounds, and like, what are you going to breed that to? You can't breed that to a cutting stud and get a horse big enough to hold up in the roping. And so, like, we're already moving that direction, and now a lot of people are doing the cow run cross to get more run. You kind of need the smarts of a cow horse, but we need wheels to get to the cow faster. And so, like, we're chopping it up already. I mean, it's
I think you guys
experiment.
are growing quicker than any other industry. Cow horse reining, cutting. I think you guys are growing leaps and bounds.
I think I might get cussed for saying this. We should surpass every other industry because what other industry can J.D. Yates's dad roped at the World Series finale when I think he was 84 and one of the lower number ropings. What industry can an 80-year-old man go compete for $300,000?
Yeah.
He can't.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how
on any age horse?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter the age of the
horse. He can show up on, I mean, if you're 80, you probably want to show up on a 20-year-old.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like, but that's what I'm saying. It's crazy that a guy, the boy that come with me today, he's at the amateur level. He won second at the finale in Vegas and split like 200 and something thousand. And, and he's a journeyman for a living. And he won more in one roping than he gets paid to do what his career is. And I'm out there roping 12, 14 hours a day, and he's roping for fun.
If you would have said to me 7, 8 years ago that rope horses would sell for $100,000, $75,000, I would have said, you're fucking crazy. Maybe like the odd one would.
What about a couple million?
No. Not even believe it in a million and billion years. But now it's pretty common.
Yeah.
Like, you guys used to be kind of the joke of the Western performance industry as far as cheap.
Yep.
You motherfuckers drink Bud Light, and you fucking pay as little possible as you could for a horse.
$6,500 if he's good enough.
That's
I'll
right.
give you $7,500.
You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
exactly right. You guys love to negotiate on horses and drink beer.
Yeah.
But now it seems like, and again, I could be wrong because I'm just looking at this from the outside in. You don't get much fucking roping horse under 60 grand anymore.
No.
You don't get shit. Now, you want to start getting a nice one, you better get up there around about 100 grand.
Yeah, and I always put the disclaimer out that there's always that horse that you'll stumble upon, and he might be worth $150,000. You bought him for $30,000 or $20,000. Yeah, it happens. I'm not saying it doesn't, but used to, when people called me and expected to pay good money, they expected to pay $30,000. Now, if somebody calls me and says, "Hey, I want a good horse," and I'm like, "Man, I've got a good one, but he's going to cost $150,000 or $200,000," it hurts me to say it because used to those people, "Oh, you're crazy. There ain't nothing worth that." And it's like, okay, when can I try him?
Yeah.
You know,
You
it's
told me
common.
today when we went to lunch today, you said there was a 2-year-old, yearling just turned 2.
Yep.
That sold for how much?
$325,000.
And it was by what and what? Well, how was it bred?
He was by Stevie Ray Vaughan, out of a daughter of PYC Paint Your Wagon daughter. Her name was Paint Your Wine Wagon or something like that, but she won good on the track.
She was a running bred mare.
Straight running bred mare. She herself run on the track, and that's is a to a T. If you could write down, like, let's take Stevie, who we know,
And Alvin's been on the podcast, had a hell of a podcast.
and we've had the winningest rope horse in the futurity industry is one that Trevor and I have right now with Solo. That's a Stevie.
What's his name?
Pride and Joy. He's won 300 and something thousand, and he's only a 5-year-old, so he gets to show for another year. So hopefully he can extend his lead. But Stevie's been great in the roping, and then you're crossing it on a mare that's been great on the track. And from the outside looking in, you're like, they bred that to perfection for a head horse. Now we all know that papers only go so far. He may be a terrible individual. Hopefully he's good, but he's bred to be.
And what did he bring? 301?
$325,000.
What did you think that colt was going to sell for, if you had to guess?
If he would have brought, I'm going to say 150 or less, I would have probably owned him.
Truly. I never would have dreamed in a million years, 10 years ago, that you guys would pay that. And that's not even with a saddle on him, correct?
Yeah. That he's not started.
Yeah.
He's been sent around the round pen, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I would have gambled my money at that just to see if he would make it.
That's just some crazy shit.
And you got to think about, like, at this point, that's giving Stallion prospect money. He's never jumped a dummy. We don't know nothing. I mean, you're risking a lot. And
that tells you where the horse industry
is. Just based on the strength of the industry, I would have rolled the dice.
Well, I'm glad to see it. I'm not jealous of it. I'm glad to see it but I never, if you would have told me this shit 10 years ago, Miles, I wouldn't have believed it because historically you guys have been cheap as fuck. Didn't want to pay for anything. I was always half pissed off with you guys all the time because you guys
we were having so much fun for so little money. Yeah,
you were having so much fun for 10 cents on the dollar, and I'm so pissed off. I buy a $100,000 yearling. It doesn't fucking work out worth a shit. It's got no talent. You assholes come in, pay $15,000, drink beer all day, have the greatest day of your life, get pussy at nighttime, and I'm out $85,000.
You pulled your hair out, and we had a good buzz. And
I was always angry at you.
Yeah.
So I'm actually glad. I want rope prices to go up because I want you assholes getting broke like the rest of us, okay? So I want the prices going up, you know? But it's great to see for the industry. It really is. You know, you and Trevor's barn, and I don't know if you feel comfortable talking about it, but fuck it, I'm going to ask it. You guys have low numbers, high numbers. What kind of horses do you have in training? What's your theory on the amount of training? Because I have a theory myself. I think you can win more money with less horses, with more time spent on them, with a good human, then more numbers, even potentially more talented horses, but they're slipping through the cracks because you've got too many, you can't get to them, you got some dumb shits riding them, you got some kids riding them with no fucking talent. I think you're better off less talented, if you had a choice between the two business models. Less maybe talented horses, better riders, but you spend a lot of time on the horses, then more talented horses, but you've got too many of them, and you don't have the talented rider. Where do you fall on that?
I'll send horses. Say the only way we'll ride an outside horse is if somebody comes like, "Hey, I want a good horse," and I'm like, "Man, I don't have any seasoned horses, but I've got a good 5-year-old that will fit you, but he needs to be seasoned. I'll keep going with him or whatever. If I get too many horses, I'll call somebody and be like, hey, I'm not effective enough. I got to focus on this.
Yeah.
I got to get this horse. I sent horses home last year that were better futurity horses than most people had in their barn, and said, hey, send this horse to so-and-so. Yep, he'll do a good job and he'll win, but I'm getting in over my head. Because like I told you earlier, I don't want it to feel like a job. I love riding horses. I want to get up before the sun comes up and get out there because I enjoy it. I want to look forward to it. And if I'm in over my head at the barn and I can't even get to the end of my list, then I'm not enjoying it. And so I think you're way more effective. And now the futurities pay enough. Why not ride less horses and show up on better horses?
What's the magic number? If you had to, I know there's no magic formula, but if you had to throw a number out there that you're starting at this time and you're finishing at this time, how many rope horses would you want to train a day?
I should say, what I do or what I should do if I
Either
did
one,
my best.
Either
because,
one. Fuck it. Trevor's not here. Fuck him. He's not here.
No,
okay, so let's say whatever we want.
Because what I do is I always put a few extra in because I'm just an overachiever. I'm like,
you're a greedy bitch. That's what you are.
7 or 8 horses and just camp on them, even if they were doing good. Like, man, this horse feels great today roping, but you know what? I've only been on him 30 minutes. I'm going to head out across the pasture. I'm going to go lope some circles in the back pasture or something. Like, something different. If I would ride 7 or 8 a day and take the time to do that, it'd be way more effective. I'll ride about 10. And now I know guys that ride 15 to 20, but I'm always 9 or 10 is what my day is. But that 7 or 8 a day where you're just like, if they have a great day, good, stay on their back, go ride them across the pasture, get them out of the arena. If they have a bad day, perfect. I'm either going to stay on you till we get it good, or I'm going to tie you to the fence and I'm going to
go ride him again.
Circle back to you later.
I always feel like a trainer, whatever industry you're in, you need to always have one slot available every day to ride it again.
Yeah.
There's always one horse that's a turd in the punch bowl. There's always one that needs a little extra ride and needs his ass kicked, something. But if you don't have that one slot available, you're always scrambling to get them all ridden. You're always, you know what I mean? Yeah. Avila always said, for his assistant, he always gave each boy 8 horses each. But now they saddled and unsaddled their own. That was a good number. 8, they could do a real good job. If you've got people bringing your horses, saddled, unsaddled, especially 2-year-olds like Jeff did, said 17. I spoke to him this year and I said, next year when we start a bunch of 2-year-olds, we're only going to do 15 because we want a couple of extra slots that if something needs an extra ride, something needs an extra attention.
10 for me and 5 for everybody else.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just give them an extra time. But see, I truly think horse trainers are their own worst enemies, but they charge too little and don't charge what they're worth.
I've told guys, like my close buddies, like, what do you charge? And they tell me, like, you're worth so much more than that, man.
Yeah.
Like,
they're their own worst enemies.
I won't say their names, but I just respect them as horsemen that much. That I'm like, man, you're selling yourself short. Because when you can go win 100,000 at one futurity and you're as good as you are, charge them more. Because
Andrea had a good point. I was at a seminar in Vegas last weekend with Sean Florida, Andrea, Todd Bergen, and Bud Light, okay? And I think Adan went out there and did a cutting demonstration on Sunday, okay? And Andrea had a damn good point. I think at least now what he's charging is $2,500 a month to train a reining horse. That's board and training. That's not including shoeing, vet, mileage, all the other bullshit, but just board and training, okay? So that's where last I heard he's $2,500, okay? He had a good point. He said, just like in golf or any other sport, the guys that are in the top 5 or 10, why shouldn't they charge more money than the guy that's number 30? The guy that's number 30 or 50 that's not winning as much, theoretically, he's not as good as the guy that's winning as number 1. So charge to what you're winning. Yeah. Charge to what value you have. But as a general rule, I think most horse trainers are far too cheap. Like, it's 2025 now, it's January. I think personally every fucking horse trainer in every goddamn discipline needs to be at least $1,000 a month board and $1,000 a month training. Straight off the bat. Yeah. That's the minimum. I went to a hunter jumper show 7 weeks ago in Wellington, Florida. Do you know what the average training bill of board and training for the hunter jumper world is, Miles? And that's not including shoeing, mileage, none of that bullshit. Just board and training. $6,500.
Really?
That's not the high-end trainers. That's just the average run-of-the-mill trainer.
Yep.
The high-end guys are charging anywhere from $7,500 to $8,500.
Yep.
We are so undervalued in the Western industry. It's fucking crazy. But they're so used to getting paying, throw out, horse trainers are so frightened to raise their prices. Like I do consulting, okay? So I do about 4 to 5 calls a week where people consult to me about making money in the horse business. You can say what you want about me, about Clinton doesn't win shit, Clinton can't compete. Hey, good for you. You're right. But I sure know how to make money, motherfucker. I can sure buy these motherfuckers 3 times over. Yeah. So what I do know how to do is make money. And you know what every horse trainer that calls me says? I'm frightened to go up on my price. And I'll say, okay, how many horses you got in training? They'll say 30 as a general rule. And I'll say, okay, is that more than what you want? They're like, yeah, I'd like to get it down around 20. I've got about a third more than what I want. And I'll say, okay, what are you charging? They'll tell me it's like, $1,300, $1,400, maybe less. And I'll say, how about you just go to $2,000? Let's raise it $500, $600 a month. And they'll like, well, people will leave. And I'll say, well, if a third of your barn walked the fuck out the door and you're charging $2,000 a month for the other 20 horses that stay, you've just made more money. You've got a third less work to do. So all that extra work less to do, put it into the 20 that stay. Yep. Don't cheat those 20. Put more time into those 20.
Yep.
Because the other third that will leave, they'll go to the next cheapest guy. Yeah. There's Walmart horse trainers and there's Mercedes-Benz horse trainers. Yeah. Pick which one you want to be. Do you want to be Mercedes-Benz or do you want to be Walmart? Which model do you want to be? Yeah. So even if a third walk out the door, you still got more money in your pocket and you're doing a better job. I'll consult with them and I'll tell them to raise their prices. They'll call me back 2 months later and they'll say, Clinton, not one person left. I said, I knew they wouldn't. Not one person left my barn. I was frightened to death that they're all going to walk the fuck out the door because I raised my prices. Not one person left. They won't leave. Now, I'm sure if you'd maybe tripled it or some dumb shit like that, you went from $1,500 to $4,500 a month, yeah, they're going to leave. Yeah. But trainers have got to start charging what they're worth.
Yeah. That's why.
Do you agree or disagree with me?
100%. The two guys, and they'll know when they listen to this because I told them both. I said, you're undervaluing yourself. And it's a guy that wins a lot in the head and a guy that wins a lot in the heeling. And I just think of them enough as horsemen that if I was paying them and they went up $1,000 a month from where they're at, I'd be glad to pay it.
My best mate in the world just got a training bill from I won't mention names, but my best mate in the world just got a training bill for $2,000 a month for a rope horse trainer. You know who this guy is, and both who people are. And I won't mention the name on camera. This is a young rope horse trainer, got a lot of talent, working real hard, keeps a real small barn, not a big barn, maybe 15 horses at best, and rides the fuck out of these things and a hell of a horseman. My best mate bitched about a $2,000 bill. I wanted to kick him in the nuts. I love him to death. I wanted to step back and kick him in the nuts. And I said, are you happy with what he's doing? He said, fuck yeah, he's great. He does this and he does that and he rides them all himself and the billing's always correct and there's supplements and their hair coat and you go there and there's 6 inches of shavings. And I said, so there's not 50 horses there? No, there's 15. I said, what the fuck are you bitching about? You're paying a premium, you're getting a premium.
Yep.
Do you want to be with the guy that's got 50 horses in training, charging $1,300 a month and he doesn't get to your horse? Or worse yet, he's got some 17-year-old kid that doesn't know shit about training horses riding it.
Yeah.
Charge more money, take less horses, and do a better job.
Yep.
And the people that are going to leave, let them leave.
Yep.
They'll go to the next guy in Oklahoma if it's charging $1,200 a month. There's always going to be a cheap guy, isn't there?
And they won't be in the win picture.
That's right. There's always going to be a cheap guy going down there. So I'm not anti-trainers. A lot of trainers shit on me because I made a lot of money in the horse industry and I got to retire and all that. But I'm pro-horse trainer. I'm not against them. I'll call them out on their bullshit when I think I need to, but I want them making more money.
Yeah.
I want horse trainers making more money. I can't tell you in the last 3 years, Miles, how many horse trainers that I don't know their name from every industry have walked up to me and said, Clinton, I got to thank you. You gave me the balls to raise my prices. You gave me the balls to charge what I was worth, and I can actually make a decent living. I was scraping by from paycheck to paycheck. So I'm not anti-horse trainer. I'm pro-horse trainer. I want horse trainers to do well. But I don't think horse trainers can do well, Miles, when they've got too many fucking horses and can't ride them. You agree or disagree? Tell me I'm full of shit.
No, I agree because, like I said, 90% of what we ride are our own horses. You know, like those studs we have, we own part of those studs. And we're constantly making sure of that on our own because we know even though we're not riding for the public, we still know that we do a better job when we have less horses. And to take it a step further, if it's supply and demand, if we have 10 head of horses standing there for sale, we're not going to get near as much money for them as if a couple guys calling like, we got to have a horse. Like, I only got one right now and you're going to have to pay for him. That's fine. I got to have him. But if I got 10 standing there, it's supply and demand.
Yeah.
You know.
You're probably going to get pissed at me for this, but fuck it, I'll say it anyway. One of our mutual friends and a very good horse trainer, Ty Benson, he's one of my best friends, and I learn a lot from him. He comes and rides my cow horses, tells me what he likes, what he doesn't like. You know, I really like. He's a fucking hand, okay? Yeah. And he's always really busy, and he's swamped. And I said, keep raising your prices.
Yeah.
Keep raising your prices.
Because I told him the same thing. We were with Ty Smith, our other mutual friend, we were giving him a hard time, and we was like, hey, go up. Just don't go up on us, but go up on everybody else, you know.
See, I say fuck that. I say go up on Ty Smith, and I say go up on Miles Baker, the first. But he should be charging a lot more. Because every time he's gone up in price, I've asked him, I said, did you go up in your price? And he said, yeah. And I said, how many people dropped out? He said, none.
Yeah.
That's my point.
He's elite at what he does.
Yes.
He comes to my house to make sure he knows what he needs to be doing on 2-year-olds to get them ready for the rope.
He gives a shit.
Yeah.
He puts the time in.
So if he calls me and goes up, I'm still going to send him horses. Because at the end of the day, even if he goes up $1,000 a month and say so, it costs me another $10,000 each horse, but I got a better horse and I have the possibility to go win $250,000 or more on that horse.
It's worth it.
Cost me $10,000 extra when he was a 2-year-old, and I won another $100,000 on him when he was 4.
Yeah.
That's a good business plan.
Their hearts thunder for us. Their flesh and bone pushed to lift us higher, carry us faster, and stop on a dime. And when they've had a great ride, they deserve a great recovery. They deserve a Cold Creek. Cold Creek Spas offer state-of-the-art 35-degree aerated saltwater therapy, proven to reduce injury, speed recovery, and keep them at peak performance. Cold Creek Therapeutic Spas. This water is for winners.
Nothing would please them more than to see this old piece of shit in a coffin. Oh, they want to drive a steel knife down a stupid fucking throat, and they talk about it quite often.
Today we got some more hate mail, guys. Last one for the day. I don't totally agree. Money isn't everything. Being happy in life is the key. I'm not rich, but I'm so very happy. Good for you. Fucking awesome. Work hard and do what you love. I agree. Not everybody gets to his status. Who cares? Not me, that's for sure. He's a bloat. You work hard and be you. That's exact. This is from Brad Pierce. Brad, you're exactly right. I don't care what you do. I don't care what anybody does. Good luck to you. If you're happy, be happy. If you like working at McDonald's, fucking work McDonald's. I like making money. I like doing what I want to do. So you guys kind of act like I'm forcing you to go out there and make money. I don't give a fuck what people do with their life. If you're happy, you like being poor, be fucking poor. It doesn't bother me. I don't want to be poor. I like being rich. It works for me. Okay? But if you like being poor, be fucking poor.
Ever wanted to own a champion? Clinton Anderson, world-class horse trainer and competitor, has been spotting and developing promising horses into greatness for decades. Now, he is offering an exclusive ownership opportunity to create champion horses. Introducing Clinton Anderson's Performance Partnership. In this exclusive program, you and Clinton will co-own a top-tier performance horse that will be meticulously trained and cared for by Clinton Anderson himself. This isn't just an investment, it's a first-hand experience of horsemanship excellence. With Clinton's help and advice, you'll choose the horse that resonates with your ambitions, and Clinton takes the reins from there. From training to stabling, from the practice arena to the winner's circle, Clinton's unwavering dedication ensures that your equine athlete reaches its full potential. This partnership is about more than business. It's about a shared passion for equestrian excellence. And Clinton Anderson isn't just your trainer, he's your partner, fully invested in every horse's success. Together, you'll share in the excitement, the prestige, and the profits. Membership is strictly limited to ensure each investor receives personalized attention and commitment. It's your chance to be part of an exclusive equine ownership community that combines the excitement of competition with the satisfaction of success. Don't miss your opportunity to join Clinton Anderson's Performance Partnership, a unique collaboration that transforms dreams into equine champions. Experience the heart of horsemanship excellence. Find out more at ClintonAndersonPerformanceHorses.com.
Now, as a horse trainer, I will say this to you guys. Listen, if you're going to go up on your price, you better go up on service.
Yeah.
You can't go up in price and give people less service. You can't go up, you're barely able to ride 40 horses. You go up on price and, you're taking an extra 10. That's cheating now.
Yeah.
If you're going to go up in price, give them extra time. Give them, you want some horses to leave.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of shame around money in the horse industry, especially making money. I don't know why, because if
I say the horse world's allergic to money.
Yeah, it is.
It's
they fucking are allergic to money, aren't they? They hate it. Horse trainers especially hate money. As much as they bitch about it, they fucking hate it because they keep making poor decisions about it. And I wanted to get rid of that stigma about, if you had a client and he owned 5 or 6 car dealerships and he sold them for X amount of million, everybody would celebrate that guy. Great businessman, made money, retired. You make money in the horse industry, or in like my case, I got retired at 43, oh, you're a motherfucker. Everybody hates your guts when you make money in the horse industry. It's stupid. Yeah. Celebrate people making money. Celebrate people doing well.
I always say that no one wants to see you do good, but nothing would make me happier than take my buddy Joseph Harrison. If I sell him a hill horse for $75,000 and he goes and wins on it and he sells it for $150,000, I'm pumped.
Yeah.
Because I sold the horse for what I wanted. He made money, and he's going to be like, hey, let's keep this rolling. Let's keep
Did you
doing
ever know
business.
Doug Carpenter at all, my mentor? Did
very
you know?
little.
Very little. He was.
I got to interrupt you real quick.
Yeah.
My dad lived in Sulphur for a minute when he got remarried, and he said they would go up to I forget what it was called, like the Artesian or something, and eat. And Doug ate there like every night. And my dad always told me, he said, there's a guy up there, and he said it's so crazy. He sits there, he'll eat by himself most of the time, and he'll just be looking at horses on his iPad and just studying them. And anyway, I go to the Snafflebit Futurity sale, and Doug's in his shorts, and he's back there looking through yearlings, and he's got his iPad. My dad said, that's the guy that eats dinner right next to me every night looking at horses, and it was Doug. I met him through
Doug Carpenter has bought and personally sold more NRHA, National Reining Horse Association Futurity champions, and more cow horse futurity champions than any man alive. He is a fucking master at picking yearlings and buying and selling. He really was a master. That's where Ty Smith learned everything he knew. That's where everything I knew about picking horses is Doug. And so I was friends with him for a good 20 years. And Doug was one of these guys that he celebrated the win, meaning that if he sold you a horse for $100,000 and within 48 hours you doubled your money, he would be your biggest fan.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I said to him one day, I said, if this guy doubled his money in 48 hours on a horse that you sold, most horse trainers are pissy about that. Well, I sold it too cheap, or I didn't do this, or I didn't do that. I said, why do you not have that attitude? And here's what he told me. He said, Clinton, if I sell a horse for 100 and the new owner doubles his money in 48 hours, where the fuck do you think he's going to come back to buy his next one? Right to me.
Yep.
So I get another bite at the cake. I get another bite at the apple.
Yep.
He said, I want people that I sell horses to make money. Because when they make money, they're coming right back to me. Yep. What do you think if they lose money? Do you think they're coming back to me? Fuck no, they're not coming back to me. Yep. But you'd be amazed, Maya. Well, no, you probably wouldn't be. You've come from the underdog to the guy on top. You and Trevor now are on fucking top. Yep. So you've gone from the underdog where everybody's supporting you. America's got a funny culture to it. They love Rocky Balboa when this motherfucker's eating raw eggs and living in a shitty apartment and cockroaches everywhere. And now he's fucking the world champion. Now they hate your guts. Like they love you when you're poor. Yeah. And when you become rich and famous and successful, you're a piece of shit. And now they back the next underdog. Okay. Is when we become successful, they want to tear you the fuck back down. But Doug always was focused on, if somebody's doing well, they're going to come back to me. Yeah. They're going to get the next horse from me. Why do you think the horse industry doesn't think like that as a general rule? Do you know why?
I don't know. I wish I could understand it. I don't know if they think there's not enough money to go around and they got to get all of it, or I couldn't tell you. But
have you seen that? Have you seen that? What I just said of being the underdog, and now you're on top. Tell me about your own perspective of that.
I think I told you I hadn't even showed a rope horse until 2020 or 2021. I had no experience showing a rope horse, and I had people that. Guys that respected me from the cowboy standpoint that I would ranch rodeo with and stuff, and it's like, man, you're doing good. You got, Trevor took you on your wing, and you got, a lot of pressure on you or whatever. You're getting to train these horses that he's riding and stuff, and like, we're just glad to see you doing good and making it. And then I got to showing, and now people, I don't want to say hate me, but they don't want to see me win.
They don't celebrate you as much, do they?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's crazy how that works. But I will say, just to be positive, the guys that I compete against, they love it. Like I said, the top, 10 guys that are my buds, like there's guys when I won the AQHA World Championship on the Pride and Joy horse this year, Heelan, the two guys that had the best chance of beating me, Joseph had great horses there, and John Ryan Foster had great horses there. The first two guys to run out there and hug me. Yeah. They were so excited. Called me before I could get out of the parking lot. Dude, like, we couldn't be more excited awesome. For you, And, like, the camaraderie is amazing. I will say that.
The cow horse industry's got that same. I got out of Rainers because they're not like that. Rainers are very cliquey. Everybody's got their own fucking team. Everybody's so protective of their customers. It's not fun. I got into the cow horse for the same reason, that when you're at the back gate, you're rooting everybody on. Yeah. It's almost like the Cowboys versus the cows. Yeah. As long as the Cowboys beat the cows, we don't give a shit who wins. Yeah. We just need the Cowboys to beat the cows.
I like that.
The Cow Horse Association NRCHA have a very good culture. I don't know how it got developed, but it's special, and they need to fucking keep it. Yeah. They need to keep that. Yeah. Let me ask you this. We're going to kind of wrap up now, but you are not probably. You are the youngest at 32. You're the youngest guy I've ever had on the podcast. Normally, I interview older people. Quite honestly, I'm attracted to older people. I love older people because they have the knowledge, their experience. Yeah. I'm 49 now, and I'm kind of going through a little bit of a sad part of my life is a lot of my mentors are dying now because they're all 20, 25 years older than me. I was always an old soul, Miles. I was always hung around older people. In my 20s, all my friends were 40, 45, 50. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think I just love their experience. I love their knowledge. I love learning from them. The bad part now that I'm 49, it's like these motherfuckers are starting to die off, and it's kind of sad. But I like the fact that I'm mentoring younger people like Jeff, and there's other people, Diego. I'm mentoring other people that are younger than me now, so there's a little bit of a changing of the guard going on. You know what I mean? Yeah. But so you're by far the youngest guy I've ever interviewed on the podcast, and I don't mean that disrespectfully or anything. It is what it is. But I always ask this last question: if you could go back to a 20-year-old or even 18-year-old Miles Baker, what would you tell yourself? You know, you're not that old, you're 32, but is there a lesson or something you'd like to change in your life, or something you wish you would have done differently? Some people say, no, nothing at all, Clinton. Every mistake I made got me to where I am. Some people say, like me, I can admit publicly that I didn't pay enough attention to the money. I was really good at making money. I wasn't as good as keeping it because I didn't have people like I have Melissa and Tom now taking care of my money and protecting it. So I say I didn't pay attention to the money enough. I was real good at making it, but I wasn't quite as good or at keeping it because I was on the road. What would you tell yourself if you could?
I think the first thing I would have done is looked in the mirror. If I could have told myself to look in the mirror at a younger age and say, like, you're not good enough. Like I said earlier, at one point I think I had a big fish in a small pond mentality. The people I was around, I could out-train them. My horses were better. I could out-rope them, but I had never broadened my horizons and got around anything else. And so when I finally looked in the mirror when I was 25 or 6 or 7 or whatever, like when I said, Trevor was like, man, you just got to get better. And then he said it in the most loving but crude way that I knew he meant it. It wasn't, he wasn't in a bad mood. He was just saying, you got to get better. And I think to this day, if he would have known that, if he would have thought I was wired to like where that beat me down, he would have never said it. But I think he knew me as a person enough. But if I could go back and look in the mirror at a younger age and be like, you're nobody.
Get out of your pond.
You're nobody. Like, drop your pride, quit thinking you're good, and go get amongst them. Go find out that you're nothing. And
get the information you need, correct?
Get the information. I was always hungry for it, but I hadn't broadened my horizons to realize that I was that far behind, you know. And then the next thing, like, get around the right people sooner. You know, I'll say it till the day I die. Like, Trevor changed my life, not because of horsemanship, not because of horses and like it's uncut, real raw, but like Trevor is the strongest Christian man I've ever been around. And I grew up in church, went to church, but just went to church. The day that Trevor asked me to partner with him, we were having a good conversation. I could tell he was zoned in, which don't happen with him very much. You can normally see a faraway look in his eye, and you can tell he's not. That day, I was like, if I can ask this guy one question while I'm here, I want to know. I said, I know, and I've told the story a million times. You're less talented with a rope. You're smaller than Fred Whitfield. You're not as athletic as Cody Ohl. You lack talent with your rope compared to some guys. You're not as athletic. You're not as talented. I was like, how did you win 26 gold buckles? And I know this is not a popular answer for the podcast. It's not the juicy drama that everybody wants, and I'm not trying to take everybody to church right now, but he said, and this is when it changed my life, he said, in the Bible, there's promises that God made, and he said, I held on to those promises. And I was like, what are you talking about? And so he goes, for instance, in Malachi 3:10, he said, it's talking about tithing. You know, it's your first 10% of everything you make or whatever. And he said, I've held on to the promise that God said, like, if you'd be faithful to your tithes, that you would never basically run out of money. And I was sitting here, it was the first time I had ever been around anybody in my life that I know he doesn't have to worry about money. It's just not a concern. Yeah. And he told me that was the reason that he didn't have to worry about money. And I was like, man, I ain't buying that. The guy won probably $10 million with his rope, but he credited it to that. And so the more I was around him, I started studying into that. And like I said, I know it's probably not the popular response, but there's a lot of stuff that
it's your truth, motherfucker. This is your truth.
It's my truth because I got around him and I started seeing how he talked and how he speaks life. He's not not negative. If it's going to be negative, he won't say it unless it's something to me and he knows how I'll take it. He said something the other day and offended somebody, and he said, hey, I just want to talk to you like I talk to Miles. Because he can offend me, he can say the lowest thing he wants, and I'll take it on the chin because I respect the guy that much. But he's been so true to me about that stuff, and so he started, I don't want to say teaching me how to live, but I started following his steps. And I'm not saying, I'm 32, and I'm not saying that my kids don't have to worry about money, but my wife and I don't have to worry about money. You know, we've been so blessed in the last 5 years that we've, I don't want to say set ourselves up, but when I moved to...
You probably never could have dreamed 10 years ago fucking training horses in a wheat... 5 years ago, training horses in a wheat field in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Running through a wheat field, doctoring cattle, that you'd be sitting here today, could you?
100%. I was talking to my wife about that. I was like, I don't ever want to lose sight of reality that I'm sitting here with you. Because to me, you've always been like, I've just studied the horsemanship and like your
What did you get
stuff.
from me? What do you think you took from my YouTube videos? If you had to say, what did Clinton Anderson teach you? I'm curious. I don't give a fuck what it is. I'm just curious.
Just getting into the mind of a horse. Like they're tapped into you. Today I asked you when you was backing them in circles. Every horse before you got on, you was backing them in circles. I'm like, he's just going in circles out here, but like you were getting into their mind before. And I can't say like, well, you do this in the stop or the turn. Like it's, but it's just studying how guys are like so intact. I can tell that you could spend 16 hours a day in the arena on a horse or on multiple horses and not get bored. You know what I mean? And so like I studied you, and I don't want to ever lose sight of the reality of where I come from and where I'm at now. When I moved to Decatur, now I had a good pickup, I had a good trailer, and I had a house, but I lived paycheck to paycheck. If one of my clients didn't pay me that month, I could possibly be in a bind. I always tell my wife, I remember when I started, the day that Trevor asked me to partner with him, I remember I had $1,200 in my bank account. And I can tell you that on multiple different occasions in the last couple years, I've had well over $1 million in that same bank account before I delegated it.
That's awesome.
You know, and I'm not saying this in a boastful, I'm not bragging on myself. No. I'm bragging on God and what Trevor's helped me understand, but I'm bragging on God that I've had to pay more in taxes the last 2 years than I would have ever thought I could make in my lifetime. Yeah. You know, and I'm cussing having to pay the taxes. I'm like, what the hell with these taxes?
You never want to cuss paying taxes unless it's going to the Democrats. Fuck them. But you never want to cuss paying taxes because it means you're winning.
Yeah.
People, like I follow politics a lot. A big Republican, love Trump, big Trump supporter. I follow politics a lot. And my girlfriend now, she said to me, when did you get into, like, because she doesn't follow politics, okay? She used to be a liberal, and I fucked a liberal out of her, okay? So I fucked some Trump into her. And now she's a Republican, and she said to me one day, she said, when did you start following politics? And I said, when I started paying taxes. Yeah. And she said, what do you mean? She said, when I was broke, I said, when I was broke, you don't pay taxes because you're poor. Yeah. When I started making some bank and started making some money and I started seeing the amount of checks that I was writing to the government, I'm like, okay, where's this fucking money going? Yep. Like, what am I paying for? That's when I got interested in politics, when I started paying taxes. And that's why I follow politics a lot now, because I want to know where my tax dollars are going. So I'm passionate about it. But reality is when you're not paying taxes, you're fucking broke. Yep. So when you're paying a lot of taxes, yeah, you might bitch about it when you write that check. I don't bitch about it like my best buddy does. He bitches a lot about it. I bitch a little bit, but I celebrate it because it means we're winning. Yeah. It means we're fucking winning. Yeah. You know, and sure, we want to get our tax bill as low as we can. We follow the law. We're not going to break the law. We're going to take every fucking advantage of the tax law we can. Yep. But if you don't want to not pay taxes, because if you're not paying taxes, you're not making enough fucking money.
Yep. I wasn't paying taxes. Yeah. And just to think that things have changed that fast. You know, like Will was riding with me this morning. I drove by a house in 4 acres that I owned that I forgot I owned.
Mm-hmm.
When we sold a stud, I am putting that money back, and I'm driving along, and I'm like, golly, I forgot. You know,
That's awesome.
2 years ago, I bought that, and thank God for a good secretary, you know, because she handles that stuff, and Trevor and I don't have to worry about that. But I was like, man, like the house that my wife and I built a house this last year, we've been moved in for 6 months. It's paid for. And I've got some assets now that are paid for. And like I said, 4 or 5 years ago, before I looked in the mirror and said, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
And 2,
you had to do some self-evaluation.
100%.
I'm not good enough. What the fuck have I got to do to get better?
I used to be okay with, to put it into perspective, if say it was at a futurity and it didn't go good, but there was one run and it looked good, I'm like, boom, I had it, you know, that was sweet. You know, like now if I don't go win first, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
I show up to win every single time. And it don't happen. Horses are incredibly humbling, but I changed my expectations for myself. I changed the level of excellence that I just don't settle. I'm
the only
obsessed
advice
with
I can give you from 49 to 32, mate, is keep doing what you're doing. Because there will be a change in your life at some point where you won't have the energy you have now. I used to remember having the passion, not even passion, I still got the passion, but the energy you have now.
Yeah.
You haven't slept in 48 hours. Yeah. I remember those days. At 49, I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
100%.
I got to get 7-8 hours of sleep every night, or I'm not worth a shit. I remember the
You've
days.
earned that, though.
I've earned that. You're damn right I have. But take advantage when you've got it.
Yeah.
You're doing exactly right. You listen, you did exactly what I preach to young people. You developed your skill set in your 20s. Yep. That was the decade you built your career. Your foundation of Miles Baker came from 20 to 30. From 30 to 40, you're going to develop your legacy.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
100%.
And you're already doing that.
Yep.
That's why I said to young people, don't fuck off 20 to 30. You can make it up, but you still got to go back and do it. Yep. So work when you can, hustle while you can. Yep. Because there's going to be a day when your kids are old enough and you're getting a little bit long in the tooth where you're not going to work the amount of hours you're going to work now.
Yeah.
You're going to back off a little bit. You're going to get a little tired. You're going to get a little achy. Your body's going to break down a little bit. So take advantage of it while you can.
Yep.
Save your money, bank your money, invest your money, so that one day you'll just ride your own personal horses, kind of like what you do now almost.
Yep.
Whether you're with Trevor or not, I see you and Trevor doing this for 20 years, quite
Yep.
honestly. But you're on the right track. Me personally, I want to get around people like you. I don't know your industry, but I know you're a winner.
Yeah.
Me at 49, my goal now for the next 20 years is to hang around younger people.
Yep.
The worst thing I can do now, this year I'll be 50, is hang around old people.
Yeah.
When I was 20, I wanted to hang around old people because old people were wise, older people were experienced, they could teach me.
Yep.
Now at almost 50, I don't want to hang around old people no more because they'll drag me down. I want to hang around people in their 20s. I want to hang around people in their 30s. I want to hang around people like you that are passionate, hungry, visionary, because it makes me go. I deliberately go to a gym, okay, where college kids goes. And these guys go in there, they take their shirt off. These little fucks are ripped. I mean, fucking 8-pack, fucking ripped. I'm out there with my beer belly out here, and I'm not ripped at all. But you know why I specifically go to a gym with college kids? Because they embarrass me.
Yeah.
They embarrass me. They make me want to do better. They make me want to push myself harder. I don't want to go to the gym with the old farts that are fucking lifting 5-pound dumbbells.
Yeah.
I want to go with these young guys that are looking at me like, what's this old fart doing here?
Yeah.
I want that uncomfortable feeling. I specifically go to a gym with kids because they're kicking my fucking ass, and I like that.
We talked about something earlier, and I just got to play off of this conversation a little bit, but I told my wife, I'm going to be at it for a while for one reason. I told my wife the only regret I have about waiting to have kids, we've waited all this time intentionally to have kids, is my dad had me when I was old enough to understand, my dad had me when he was young. He was broke, he was in debt, and he was freaking hustling. Because if he didn't hustle, the wolves were knocking at the door. And he had no choice. He started rock bottom. He started in a ton of debt with cattle and equipment and land, and he had to claw his way out of it. And he didn't sleep at night. When I was, 5th, 6th grade, my dad would wake me up at 4 o'clock, and I would have to open gates in our little grow cattle yard so he could get in and out of the pens faster and feed. And then I could go back and sleep for another hour before I had to go to school. But I remember seeing my dad so hungry, or not even hungry. He just
Stressed.
had to work that hard
Yeah.
to stay ahead, that now I don't know any different.
Yeah.
The fact that I hadn't slept in 48 hours doesn't faze me because it's what it takes.
One of the best lessons my parents gave me, and yours did too for sure, is a work ethic.
Yeah.
You can fuck up a lot of things in life, but if you'll just get the work ethic right, you can do really well.
Yeah.
Don't fuck that part up.
I want my boys to see that.
Work
because
ethic.
me having to see my dad like that put that in me.
Yeah. That's we discussed that a little bit today. Is too many rich parents have kids that are not hungry because they've never been fucking hungry. We're gonna wrap up now. Miles, I'm proud of you. Proud of your success. Proud of what you and Trevor are doing. I love being around successful people. I'll be cheering you on. I don't know much about your industry, but I just love people being successful.
Yes, sir.
And I love helping people be successful. I'll tell you what I'll do for you. Whether you do this or not, I don't give a fuck at all. We start 15 colts a year. That's all we'll ever start. From October 21st for 60 days, I start 15 colts. And then after that, I take them from there. We're very particular who we start colts for because I only got 15 slots. We don't take another 15 in February. And we only do 15 period. I'll make a commitment on camera. I'll start one of yours every fucking year, even if I personally fucking do it, okay? But there's one condition. I want my fucking brand on it. Because if I'm going to be a winner, I want to be a winner with you.
Yep.
Winners want to be around other fucking winners. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I don't give a shit if you take me up on that or not, but I want my brand on it because I want you in the winner's circle with my brand, but I want to be a part of your success, helping you get there, helping you do it.
That's a
and
deal.
you took a little chance, taking a chance on me, and I know it's paid off for you,
Yep.
but we can accomplish great things, and just like you've done with Trevor and other people, winners want to be around winners.
Yeah.
Cheers, mate. I'm very
Thank
proud
you.
of you, very proud of Trevor.
Thank you.
And keep up the great work. Congratulations on your new baby twin boys. And what are their names?
Major and Maverick.
Major and Maverick. It's
Yep.
fucking awesome.
Yep.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you.
Uncut and Real Raw.
Thank
Cheers. I just wanted to take the time to genuinely thank all of our loyal listeners to the Uncut and Real Raw podcast. The success it's had has been absolutely phenomenal. We are in the top 1% of all genres of podcast in the country. And that in itself is pretty cool because, the equine industry as a whole is really small compared to like dogs, cats, NASCAR, sports. The amount of people that own dogs and cats and other pets compared to horses is amazingly different. So the fact that we're such a small niche industry and we're already in the top 1% of podcasts in the country is phenomenal. It's because of you guys' loyalty and the super guests that we have on. I can't thank the guests that are coming on for their realness, their dedication to tell a story, their successes and their failures. The podcast was just designed to be a hobby for me to bullshit and have a couple of cocktails and talk to some really cool people. Never in a million years did I dream that it would take off in the level that it has. But I just wanted to thank the loyal listeners, thank the guests. I'm going to keep bringing you real, genuine conversations that are not fucking politically correct, and we're going to just tell it how it is. And we just thank you for your support, and I just wanted to reach out to you. Thanks, guys. Today's episode was filmed and produced by Uncut Productions, marketing by Stewart & Associates, and organized and administrated by Down Under Horsemanship. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit the subscribe button and leave a rating. Follow us and stay up to date on social media, including Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. See you next time, mate. Cheers.